Hey everyone, how's it going, right?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Dyna-Mic Duo. I am Chopper Fett. You can call me Brett if you want to. And as always, with me is Mr. Fletch Dyna. How's it going, Fletch? How we doing today, buddy?
Very good. Hello everyone, I'm Fletch, and welcome to the Dynamic Duo. And of course, with me, the Django Fett to my Boba Fett is Chopper Fett. And today we'll be having an interesting show, hopefully. And we've got quite a number of people in the side chat already. And of course, today's topic we'll be discussing what to look for when buying a new or pre-owned motorcycle. And we have a guest here today who's had a lot of experience with it. And of course, you all know him. And he's, of course, riding in the Ozarks. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Very good, man. And oh, by the way, congratulations on hitting the 500.
Thanks. Takes
Excellent.
a little hard. We're there.
Okay, so the topic of today is what to look for in getting a motorcycle or a pre-owned motorcycle. So I know you had a lot of experience, and if you're looking at your videos that you put up over the last couple of weeks, you've had the DR and of course the Dyna, and then your uncle's bike. So what do you tell us a little bit about the process and maybe help us choose a bike that we want to get?
Yeah, so especially if you're looking at a new bike, you should be able to test ride that if you're buying from a dealership or someplace like that. When I bought my 2016 Street Glide, I went out several months before, and dealers in this area at the time would do a demo days once a year. And so you could find a dealer within 100 miles of you. I went there and they were like, you can ride whatever bike you want as how many times as you want, as long as there's not somebody who hasn't rode yet in front of you. You know, let them ride. And then if you want to keep re-riding a bike, that's fine. And I rode everything they had for demo days, including the Street Glide 3-4 times to see, you know, was this really what fit me, what I wanted? So, you know, the big thing if you start from a new bike perspective is test ride the bike, get a feel. Don't just ride one because, oh, I think I like this one. Try a couple, you know, try something with forward controls versus mid controls. There's a big difference in that seating posture and what you may or may not like. So
Sure.
That's a big advantage with the new bike is you get that opportunity. Sometimes with used bikes, people don't want to let you test ride them. Could be a whole different problem.
Show up with cash in hand, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys are like, if you show up with cash in hand, I'll hold the cash. You go ride the bike. If you wreck it, I'm holding on to the cash. You know,
Right,
you bought.
that's true.
But you know, and I get that. I've never had anybody do that to me, but you know, usually the bike's either not running, and you know that when you get there, and you're buying it that way, or the bike's running. They'll take it down the road for you. But you know, most bikes that I have bought used, I have rode a bike like it. Even if if you think you want a bike and you've got a friend that's got one, let them see if they'll let you take it for a test ride, just so you can get a feel for it. You know, even if it's just down the block or sitting on it in the parking lot and driving around a couple of laps, it can make a big difference. I got on that Sport Tour Honda bike of my uncle's, and I immediately didn't like the seat and handle position. I mean, it was not comfortable for me, not what I'm used to. I felt out of place. Could I ride it? Yes. Would I like it? No. So use those opportunities. Use your friends' bikes to maybe get an idea if they've got a Dyna or something. Now, you're not always going to maybe, especially if you're new into riding and you don't have a lot of friends to ride, you may not always be able to do that.
Sure. Well, that's definitely true. And, you know, just like you said, just kind of even just being able to sit on the bike is one thing, but to actually put that bike in motion is something else. And
yeah, I mean, how toppy heavy they are. You know, a lot of people think Sportsters are great bikes for women, and they're actually a little top heavy compared to like a Heritage or other things. And you know, a lot of women find they prefer a Heritage over a Sportster. You know, just because it's heavier doesn't mean it's going to be more awkward.
Right. Just a moment, though. I have someone that just joined us, which I reached out to her through the BlackPhoenix Entertainment. Her name is Ms Mototeach, and she's actually a new subscriber. Oh, sorry, she's a new motovlogger, not a new subscriber, a new motovlogger. And I think, guys, please go and check her out. She's just starting up. And Ms Mototeach, just hang in there. A little later on, I will try and pull you in so that you can talk about your channel as well. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I think
No
a lot of things that you were saying rings true. I think in Singapore, where I'm from, a lot of dealerships don't allow you to do it. I think the only two dealerships that allow you to do test rides are, of course, Harley-Davidson for sure, and BMW. They're the only two. The rest of them, you have to either go with reviews, take a look at YouTube. If they allow you to even sit on the bike, you can sit on the bike, but that's not going to tell you very much anyway. Then once you get a bike, especially if it's a super sport, and suddenly you get such a powerful machine under you that you've never had before, especially if you're doing smaller displacements, right? So that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, if you're new, you do a safety course here in the U.S., you start out on a 250cc bike or maybe a 500 at the Harley dealers. But most independent safety courses are doing 250cc bikes. So you have no idea what a super sport's like at all,
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, for us, the safety course, as I mentioned earlier, we have to go through three phases. The first of which is a 200cc bike. Then we go to a 400. And then finally a 650, but a 650 against 1,000 is completely different. It's a sports bike as well. Well, kind of. It's a road bike, but it's 650 cc's. It's going to make a big difference in terms of how you handle it, right? And I think it's good that we should try and test ride as much as possible. But even if you can't, let's talk about a new bike, for instance. Mike, what would you think that you should be looking out for? What should you consider before getting that bike?
Well, I mean, ideally, you need to have an idea of what you're going to do for riding. I mean, are you a Sunday afternoon ride with your buddies? Do you want to take off and go cross country? Are you just casually interested in it, or are you serious about putting miles on it? Because I mean, if you're really going to go cross country, you're going to want something in the tourer class, and you need to kind of know that. But those bikes are heavier, harder to ride.
Exactly.
Things like that. Going to buy a new bike here, I guess, is a lot different than there, because I can't imagine going to a dealership here and telling them I'm going to give them $10,000 for anything and not test ride it. Not going to happen for me. I don't know about you, Chopper Fett. Do you ever had a dealership tell you that you can't test ride a new bike?
I haven't. Every time I go there, they're trying to get me to test ride. So what I do is I take my kid with me. And they tend to leave me alone because I don't necessarily want to go there to test ride anything, because I know I will leave with something. So I take my kid with me, and I'm like, oh, sorry, unless you guys are going to babysit, I can't go for a ride right now. So I'm very, very meticulous on that.
Yeah. But I mean, like here, I can't imagine any dealership not letting you test ride a bike. But I had someone on the internet ask me about, buying a bike, and they were in Australia or New Zealand, and they said something about getting a Dyna. I think it was after one of April's videos on her Dyna and stuff. And I said, well, I don't know what the value is there, but, for an example, her bike cost 20% of what my bike did. Now, her bike is a 2000 and mine was a 2016. Right. But it was low miles. It's something she could ride. It fit her. So it was a good choice for her. And that's what I told him. I said, if you're wanting to get into a Harley, don't necessarily go look new, especially if it's, a stretch for you. Start out with something that maybe not a Sportster. They didn't want a Sportster for whatever reason. I said, well, you can, instead of buying a new Sportster, you could spend less money and get an older Dyna or Softail. Yep. You have to check your market in your area to see what resale is and what things are worth, because that varies all over the country. It varies a lot here in the United States, from, Florida to Milwaukee to the Midwest to California. So, what's cheap here is not necessarily cheap in 500 miles away, but there is this certain level of depreciation that happens with motorcycles, especially Harleys. And after the first 10 years are the hardest on depreciation. After that, that rate of depreciation slows way down. So if you get a bike that's 10, 15 years old, you could probably ride it 5 years and you're not going to lose much on it unless you trash it or do something to it. And so it's a better financial investment to buy a used bike in that 10 to 15-year-old range.
So that brings up a good point, because I've only had the one motorcycle, so I don't have too much experience going out and purchasing, but the one motorcycle I bought was a 2009 Dyna Lowrider, and this was in 2016, I think is when I purchased. So at the time, I was 7 years old. I got it for $6,500, and if you were to go now and look at that, there's no way I would get a dime less than $6,500 at this point in time. I could probably actually make some money off of it because dynos are now more popular. And like you said, after about 10 years, they just stopped appreciating. Road Kings, Street Glides, they all lose this like significant value. And then after that, it's just like, oh, it's
This is how you get the $5 mark and just stay there, whether it's 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like a 2010 Road King you can find for about the same price as a 2000 Road King. So it's just that kind of law of averages, or however you want to subscribe it.
And while we're talking about looking at used bikes, something I would tell everybody, if you go to look at a bike and you don't know the owner or you don't know them well enough that you can feel confident that they're maybe giving you a good history of the bike, things to look for and to pay attention to are tips of the levers, the mirrors, the turn signals. Even if the bike is just falling over in a parking lot, generally those are going to have small scratches. They can't hide them, and they're not going to replace those parts over a small scratch. But they'll give you an idea if that bike is fallen over or anything like that maybe they don't want to just tell you. But it may give you an idea of also how honest the person is being with you. If they like, we bought April's bike, it belonged to a friend of mine, and it had been his wife's bike. She'd had a heart attack and had a stent in, and they took the stent out, and she thought she was going to be strong enough to ride. She rode it for a year. She dropped it in the parking lot a couple times, decided that was a bad idea and she wasn't going to ride. But they were, full disclosure
honest about it.
Yeah, she's, so you could tell, and they told us. But if you went to somebody and said, oh yeah, this bike's never been down, you start looking at the end of the bars and the grips, and you see little scratches and little things like that, then they're either they don't know the whole history of the bike, or they're not being upfront. And if they're not being upfront, you probably want to think twice about, how far you go with that, or make sure you're getting a hell of a deal, because there's probably more to the story.
Exactly.
And, like the DR I bought, I've had some issues with it, but I knew that going in, it had been parked for 3 or 4 years. The price was appropriate for the situation.
That's true. So let me just share that really quick. And this is the DR that you're looking at, and this is the video that you had. And so what was the thing to look out for? In this case, it was a used bike, obviously. It's been in someone's garage or
it's a good friend of mine, but he'd parked it for 4 years, and I didn't even know he was thinking about selling it. He hadn't been riding it in 4 years. I didn't know he still had it, and I was talking about buying a dual sport, and he mentioned I need to get rid of this thing. It's been in my garage for 4 years. I'll make you a good deal on it. And but that bike had to have the carburetor cleaned. It needed some other things done, and now I don't know if you've seen the most recent video, but the petcock failed, and the float in it was not working correctly. And on these Suzukis, I just can't imagine it, because it's not a design Harley would have ever done. But it doesn't have an overflow in the carburetor to drain out into the ground somewhere. And if the petcock fails, there's no manual shutoff. It's vacuum operated. You got on, reserve, and then you've got what they call a primary, which is like on a lawnmower where it's wide open without the vacuum. But the vacuum is the off. So if that thing fails and it leaks gas without vacuum, it fills the bowl of the carburetor. Well, the float should stop it. Well, in this bike, turns out the O-ring around the float wasn't sealing, and the float didn't work properly, and it overflowed the carburetor. And there's no vent out, no drain tube, and it fills up through the intake and down into the motor and past the valves, and it filled the crankcase full of oil. Wow. That's not cool to wake up in the morning and have gas leaking out of your air box all over your garage floor. You look down at the oil indicator and it's black as night and just full of gas. I mean, I if you watch that video, I pour the oil into a tub. It's just like water, but it's black.
Exactly. That's not how you like to wake up in the morning. That's my preferred method.
Really? But but I knew the bike would have some issues. I figured I'd have to replace the battery on it, and I haven't had to do that. And, it needed probably an oil change done on it. I don't know that it ever had one. It had less than 3,000 miles on it. So I planned on changing the oil anyway. It just made me do it a little sooner. One thing it did do is the gas tore up the air filter, so I've got to replace the air filter. But luckily, the carb parts, another guy that's a new YouTuber, well, he's an old YouTuber that's restarted his channel in town, had reached out to me, and he had some carb parts. So I told him what was going on. He's like, bring it over. I think I've got everything I need to fix your carb. And he traded me a working manual petcock for my no good petcock. So that's a good deal.
But looking at this and say if someone was looking to buy a pre-owned bike like this, how would you approach it to get them to understand how to look at this bike and determine if this is the right bike for you? But in your case, your friend was pretty straightforward about the things that has been done or not been done on the bike. But still, you would have to investigate without stripping stuff off. What is it that you would advise them to look for?
I would say, if you're got any kind of mechanical ability that you're comfortable just doing a few minor things, I would take a jumper box that you can try and jumpstart a car or motorcycle with, because you can usually get to the battery, put a jumper on, make sure it cranks. If it cranks, then the engine is not locked up or frozen. At least it turns and moves. That's a big plus right there. What it takes to start is air, spark, and fuel. So you can take a can of ether and, maybe if you can get to the air box easy enough, you drop a little starting fluid in the air box and you crank it. And if it hits, then you're good. If it doesn't hit, you may take a spark plug socket and a wrench and pull a spark plug out, and you can leave it connected to the coil wire and lay it on the engine and crank the engine and see that spark generally. And then you've got spark. So if you've got spark and you've got fuel, you should at least get it to fire, even if it won't stay running because the carb's junked up or something else. You'll get the motor to turn over or something like that. And then that it's not got anything major wrong with the engine. And that's, or you might find out later there's something wrong with the transmission. There's no real good way of testing that without it being in rideable condition. But you'll at least know the motor's not locked up or junk, before you go buy it. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, you mentioned bringing like the little tender or the battery jumper along with you. I know when we bought my wife's Sportster, the guy had it basically hooked up to a tender, and it wouldn't crank. And he said, "Oh, the battery is pretty much brand new. I don't know what the deal is." So he jumped it off of his car battery, and it fired right over. So I knew it was definitely battery related on that. And so I actually ended up using that to my advantage to say, like, well, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. I'm going to have to work on it. So we ended up, getting the guy down another $600-700 on basically replacing a $100 battery. So, but with the second it cranked over, it's like, okay, we can work with this. We can do this. It's when even that doesn't start it up that you're like, how big of a project is this going to be?
Right. If you pull the plug and there's no spark, then there's some kind of electrical issue, whether it's a coil or ignition module, and depending on the kind of bike or things like that. It can be. There's lots of bikes out there that work different ways. My dad's got, and I've got to do a video on this someday, but he's got a 1999 Henderson Excelsior, and most people don't even know what it is, but they were an old bike that they came back for 2 or 3 years, like 97 through 99. He's got a Super X. But they don't have the same kind of starting system. They were fuel injected, and they actually use an alternator instead of a regulator like a car does, and different things. So you have to be careful about, if you're not familiar with the bike and you're not mechanically sound, you get into electrical, you don't know what you're getting into if you're not, a mechanic. So If you don't have no spark, I would probably walk away from that bike. If you've got spark and you can get it to fire with starting fluid, then you're probably not going to get hurt unless the bike looks abused and there's something wrong with the transmission or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think looking at this video, and you just started the bike. So if someone was to get a chance to start the bike, and what are the things to look out for here in terms of the engine that will be a sign that something is wrong or that it's good?
Well, if you've got to worry about stale gas, then you might have it running rough or pinging or things like that, and that could make you think that you maybe have an engine problem, and that might not actually be the case. So it can be hard to determine. It's every situation's going to have to kind of evaluate what that situation is. You're not always going to take fresh gas or anything else. But if somebody says, oh, it was running 3 months ago, and you try and get it to start and it sounds like crap, and it's
Right.
Not running right or very poorly or something, that would be a warning sign. Now, if they said it hasn't been ran in 3 years, it's probably got the same gas in it, then that could be expected. But again, then you need to negotiate for that situation and be like, yeah, I'm going to need some cushion in here because I'm going to have to work on this bike. I don't know what else. You can say after 3 years, you can say, oh, it's probably got seals that have dried out. It's going to leak everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And you can bring them down on the price some more. And that's all realistic.
Yeah. So you mentioned the bad gas thing. So I've never personally smelled bad gas to know what it smells like, the aroma. I know what good gas smells like. It smells heavenly whenever I pump it inside my bike at the gas station. But how would one know? Is there a distinct odor to bad gas?
I can't say that I know. I mean, I don't. I won't guess. I would say if you're really worried about it, it usually takes a pair of pliers or less to pull the fuel line off. Take a gallon if you're really serious about it, but you can't get the bike to start. Say, okay, I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to bring fresh gas and a spark plug wrench, and if we can get this thing to fire up, I'll have gas. I'll have cash with me. But if we can't, then maybe not.
I mean, I got bad gas too, but I don't think it's the same kind of bad gas that we're talking about here.
Yeah,
So.
no, that got gas. Everybody knows how it smells.
I just didn't want to say it.
You were
in my
thinking
mind
it,
as well. I was thinking it for sure.
No shame here. No shame.
Exactly. So I think that's pretty good. And so we've covered in the sense what to look for in a new bike, which is pretty good if we can get a test ride and so forth. Then
I bought bikes that were smoking. I mean, we knew there was engine problems. It was killing mosquitoes going down the highway. You didn't have, so you just have to. We also knew we were getting the bike cheap, and we knew there was a problem. We knew it had an oil leak and it was smoking. It needed a base gasket, which is at the bottom of the cylinder, replaced. It was leaking there. Well, it turned out I ended up having, that was my 1990 Ultra Classic, and we bought it with 87,000 miles on it. There was receipts for engine work, which that's not necessarily a good thing.
Exactly.
A lot of people will tell you the more you put aftermarket stuff on a bike, the less reliable it comes. Some people won't believe that, and I won't say that's always the case. Good mechanics can be reliable and good parts, but you're hard pressed to make a modified bike last longer than a dead stock bike and not have any problems with it. And that's, some people can do it, but if you go out there and this bike's got all kinds of modified stuff on it and cables hanging off, and it doesn't look like everything's neat and trim like it would be from the factory, that's another Jewing point on the price.
So I know my dad's over there in side chat, and I remember when he picked up his Fat Boy less than a year after I picked up my Dyna, because that's what kind of got him into it. So he got a great deal on it. Again, this was a heavily modified bike. Now, it wasn't modified in the sense of necessarily like cams or stage 4, stage 3, whatever you like that. It was stage 1 with a bunch of chrome added onto it. But I remember the day I don't know if he was having an electrical issue or not, but he started digging into the wiring, and they jacked it up something fierce. Like, they have all these little switches and connections inside of there, and it's not the original wiring harness, which luckily he's an electrical guy, so he is able to clean it back up. But that's something that's really difficult to see when you are looking at a bike, is all that electrical stuff is usually hidden away because no one wants to see wires. So, I mean, is that just kind of like, if you're buying a used bike, you're hoping basically that's the case?
Yeah, and to some degree, and you can, depending on how mechanically inclined you are and how much that person's willing to let you look at it, if you're really serious about it, take some tools with you and pull the seat off. Most of that kind of stuff that happens on Harleys happens under the seat, where the splicing goes in right there before the battery. They're trying to tie it to a positive, things like that. Under my seat, there's all kinds of electrical connections that are spliced in, but they're wiretaps for custom dynamics plasma lights, and an extra module that goes in there. And then there's a tap for LEDs that tap into the brake light. I've got LEDs on my bike. When you pull the lever, the LEDs come on red and light the whole bike up red, no matter day or night. And so they tap into the brake light. But things like that can also cause a problem.
Oh, but there's a proper way and an improper way of doing it, though, too. You have your I don't want to say getaway, but your cheap way of just basically tying the wires together and calling it good, or you have the actual ones that have like the little wire taps, and you have like the meltable solder, those kind of things that
or you solid connection. Shrink tube versus electrical tape, and not saying electrical tape's bad. But, if it was done at a shop, they're probably going to use shrink tape, and heat it up and do it that way. And they're going to use solder underneath it. If it's electrical tape, maybe it was done in a hurry on the fly to fix something. But, and like I said, it's not saying electrical tape's bad. You use what you got when you have to. But, getting into a used bike can be, a gamble. The 1990 Ultra Classic, I put several $100s in it. We didn't get any money out of it more than what we paid for it. And everything I put in it was what it cost me to ride it over 2 or 3 years. And I probably didn't have a great deal on it, but it was, I was going through a divorce, and it was what I could afford at the time.
Yeah. So. That's what we do. We buy what we can at the time. So,
and after the divorce was over, I bought a brand new street line.
Yeah, there you go. Well, who's to say it's going to be wired up correctly from the factory anyway? Man, Fletch, I had a thought.
Sure.
And then I lost it. I think we said this last week. This was like the one nice thing about when we could actually go back and edit. We could edit my airheadedness out, but
Superman
Kev threw me off with my haircut thing. So had all my
guys.
Oh, yeah, your dad made a comment about what's up under the bars and behind the cover, behind the headlight. So I bought a Sportster one time for $1,500 for an 883. It hadn't been titled in 5 years. It had a Texas title here in Missouri, and it was someone in the military had said they'd bought it from someone else in the military, and they'd never titled it in Missouri. And, it hit hardly any miles on it in the 5 years since it last been titled. But I bought it cheap, way too cheap. And I knew there was probably something more to the story, because it was about half of what it should have been. It should have been a $2,500, $3,000 motorcycle. I didn't get 300 yards from their driveway and the headlight went out. Pothole. And boom, no headlight. And I had someone, who took me there because I planned on riding the bike back if we bought it. And so I just told him, get behind me and high beam me. And I rode 40 miles with no headlight on the interstate and back roads and everywhere I had to go to get home. But they put aftermarket turn signals up that mounted by the forks on where one of the braces were. And the way they had ran the wire, when the suspension came down, it pinched it and it shorted out the turn signal, and it actually blew a fuse. So I had no headlight from a fuse issue. But obviously it was dark, and I was just like, well, we're just going to ride it. But I actually doubled my money on that bike. I put $1,500 in it, paid $1,500. So 3 months later.
Exactly.
I know.
Well, that's awesome, man.
I know when we rode the Sportster home, it was February, so it was about 20 degrees. But I didn't want the guy holding my money till the weekend when it was going to be 40. So I was like, let's just get it home tonight. So it was a little damp, a little wet. And I honestly swear, I think if I would have killed that bike on the way home, we wouldn't have gotten it running again. The battery was just that dead on it. So, I mean, I about killed it once going around a turn because I wasn't quite used to the clutch. And it bogged down really, really well. But I wasn't going to let that guy hold my $2,500. No, sir.
Right. Yeah, that's that's that thing. How comfortable are you giving a guy money to go ride the bike and come back and he won't just lock the door and refuse to answer? He's like, you bought it. The paperwork's over there on the table. Right.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that guy's paperwork. I had to hunt him down about a month later trying to title it. So good times.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I went one time to pick up a motorcycle that had no title, but had been picked up from a storage unit. So in Missouri, if someone leaves their property in a storage unit and doesn't pay the rent on it after so long, the owner has the right to claim the contents and sell them to recover his losses. Well, this motorcycle came out of a storage unit auction, and there was no title to it. This kid had it. He was 20 or 21, and I was on my way to go buy it, and he texted and said, oh, somebody just bought it. But I did run the VIN, and you can run the VIN and make sure there's not a claim or report of it being stolen or anything else before you go buy a motorcycle. And if you think anything looks shady, that's something you ought to consider doing if the owner will give you the VIN ahead of time. Some won't. But if they won't give you the VIN ahead of time, that might be a concern there too, because there's not really anything you're going to do with it.
Exactly. Right. Just to interrupt a little bit, I've got someone here that's just joined us, Ms Mototeach. She's a brand new motovlogger, and I think she can also just tell us a little bit about her channel. Hey, welcome to our channel, and welcome to the Dynamic Duo. How you doing?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. No audio.
No microphone.
I think you're on mute.
No.
If you go to your cam mic settings, you might see if you're connected.
You might have to change the microphone that the thing is set for if you have multiple, like whether it's using the webcam microphone versus headphone microphone or something like that.
Exactly. Little technical issues here, guys. Don't worry. Everything is fine. We had that problem too.
Every single day.
Yeah. I think it sounds connected, but it's just not coming through.
Yeah. Duplicate title.
Anyway, I put the link to her channel on the side. Please go and subscribe to her.
That
Let's
working
bring her
now?
up to her. Yes, we can hear you exactly. Something wrong with
Okay.
the microphone though.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
perfectly.
Now I can't hear you.
The speakers.
Oh, this is new.
Don't worry,
Yeah,
take your
now
time.
I can't hear you.
You can't? So, welcome to our channel and welcome to the
Sorry.
motovlogging community, right? So, up onto my, hang on, I need to see, this is all mirrored. Up to my, here is Chopper Fett, below is Mike from riding in the Ozarks. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the channel? Up to my, here is Chopper Fett, below is Mike riding in the Ozarks. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the channel? Up to my,
Go.
Here is Chopper Fett, below is Mike riding in the Ozarks. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I think the
Sorry,
lag.
I couldn't hear you for a little bit. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Probably because you're using YouTube. But if you mute your YouTube and you go to the live stream, and you use it's okay. No worries. No worries. Because the difference between StreamYard and
it's kind of weird because I can't hear you on the stream, but I can hear on YouTube. I don't know. I might have to leave and come back and figure this out.
would you like to do that
Hold on.
and try? Okay, so we've lost her for a bit. She's gone. So anyway, while waiting for her to come back, let's go back to what we were saying, right? So we talked about brand new bikes, and we talked about test rides, and we talked about looking at. So again, before I brought her in, I was actually going to ask you a question. So now that you gotten the bike started up, and what are the things to look out for before you even start putting your spanner or your screwdriver to the bike?
Yeah. So if you get the bike started, I would, feel the clutch. Make sure it feels like it's clutching. You try the brakes. You can pull the brakes and rock the bike and make sure they're all grabbing and stuff like that. You don't want to get on a test ride on a bike that's used to find out it has bad brakes, or the brakes have all the fluids leaked out of them or something like that, or
Right.
or on TV.
Things like that. And some bikes have hydraulic clutches, and some are still cable. So depending on the situation, how they'll feel or how they'll work. But before you go, if you get a bike started, before you go doing anything else, make sure that you're not putting your life at risk by test riding it before you take off.
Yeah, that's a good thing. What about engine sounds? Is there anything to look out for?
Well, most bikes will have some kind of oil level indicator, dipstick, something like that. I would make sure that if I started the bike and it, check once you've got it warmed up, check the oil and stuff and make sure it's sitting where it should be. You might look for any obvious signs of a leak if you've let it run for 5 minutes. Some people will clean a leaky spot up, but after the bike runs for 5 minutes, you turn it off, that oil will seep out or it'll drip and leak. And that's not always necessarily a deal breaker by no means. Old Harleys are known for marking their territory, but it is still something to watch.
Yeah.
So, and if they cleaned it up and they're not being honest about it and they're trying to hide it, that's even more concerning. If you go in there and there's oil spots and they say, oh yeah, it leaks some oil, okay. If they go in there and it's no oil spots and then it starts dripping or leaking somewhere and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on there, then that's either they really don't know because they haven't been riding it, or there's something else more going on.
And you mentioned the leaks, and if you can determine where the leaks are coming from, kids, yes, she is home. You're right. So if you can determine where the leaks are coming from, like if it's coming from the drain plug or the oil filter, I feel that that's not too concerning because that's most likely just like one of those little gasket rings or something like that. But if you're seeing a lot of oil that I usually feel is like caked on the engine case where oil shouldn't be at, that's maybe a little bit more alarming. But like I said, most Harleys will drip anyway. So
yeah, where I would actually be a little bit concerned if it's leaking around a drain plug, particularly because what is somewhat common to happen is people over tighten them and then they strip them and they have to helicoil them or something else. So if it's leaking right at a drain plug, that might be something to investigate a little further. If they've over tightened it and they've stripped a thread or had to helicoil it, things like that. That's something that it could be a lot more work to fix than it's worth.
Exactly. So welcome back, Ms Mototeach. Is everything
Hello,
sorted out?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay! And I can hear you. This is great.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
sorry.
BlackPhoenix helped you out a bit.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, it was the same thing when the first time I came on this live stream thing and really mucked it up. Couldn't get my video going and stuff, so it's okay. It's a learning experience because this is something completely different, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Yeah, sure. Thank you again for inviting me on. And I'm going to tell, this is my first live ever. And I'm learning a lot because I'm also new to motorcycles and stuff like that. I only actually just started riding back in November. What happened was I took the MSR class, and then a week later I got my bike, and I never ridden a motorcycle before. So my channel, I'm Ms Mototeach. Usually the best way is to explain my name. Moto part, I ride a motorcycle. It's nice. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. It's awesome. I ride a Harley-Davidson Street Bob 2020. I bought it new. Did I expect to buy it? No. Went in and kind of they were doing a test ride, and I already kind of knew what I wanted, and the test ride was actually the first time I ever went out on the street, which was pretty scary, but it was fun. And
tell them that.
Yeah. And but it was great. And then the teach part is because my day job, I am a middle school history teacher. And I kind of wanted to create a channel where I talk about my new passion for motorcycles and start that dialogue, but also about talking about my other passion, which is teaching, because not a lot of people, I feel, unless they know one personally, get to talk to a teacher and can ask them questions that they've always wanted to ask their teacher. And I thought this would be a very unique way to talk
Totally
about
agree.
it and stuff. And
Totally agree.
that's part of the reason also why I kind of right now I'm covering my face, because I still work for
Sure.
a school district and kind of want to maintain a little bit of that privacy until otherwise. I mean, because that's the thing is like I won't ever really talk about issues or rant or anything like that. But,
Sure.
you know, there might not be some people that might not be happy me talking about certain things. So,
Sure.
No, respect that. No,
Yeah.
you surely respect that. So now that we know that you've just started riding and you're riding a 2020
Yes.
Street Bob, is that correct? I own a Street Bob, but mine's a Dyna, a little bit different. And I've
Yeah.
ridden this bike as well. So from a first timer's point of view, what made you decide to get this bike, or what was on your mind in choosing a bike, for instance?
So when I was looking at bikes originally, when I finally went in for myself, I went to the dealerships kind of first and made a relationship with somebody who I wouldn't call them a typical salesperson.
Right.
They were actually very interested in trying to find the right fit and not necessarily get me to get a bike and walk out the door. So we kind of talked. I did a little bit of research because that's the teacher in me. I do research, even though half the stuff I still don't understand. Like some people ask me about my engine, and I go, "Sure, yeah, that one. I don't know." So I knew that, you know, obviously, because I'm also I'm fun sized. I'm vertically challenged is actually the better way of me saying it. And so I'm 5'1", 5'2" in heels, and so it was a little bit brand new rider, that kind of stuff. But I wanted a bike that I could grow with. And a lot of people said you could get a Sportster. It's a great one, but you're going to probably outgrow it within a year. For me, with everything I've been doing, I would have outgrown it by now. So I wanted something that I could grow with, and I took baby steps as soon as I got it. Like I just ran the parking lot nearby and then kind of little by little. So something that was powerful that I can grow with and still feel comfortable. But you should have seen me on the ride home. It wasn't that long ride, but I was like, didn't whiskey throttle though. I was good.
See, but when ours shakes, Fletch, ours is shaking because we have the Dynas, and that's just that's just how we ride.
Typical Harley.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it took me a little while to actually like open her up, and now I find straightaways every now and again. Right. The one straightaway I usually go to is closed for construction, and I got sad.
Oh. So what was your motivation in choosing a bike, and what made you choose a Harley?
What made me choose a Harley is because a lot of people in my family rode Harleys, and it was kind of like a commemoration to them. And I don't know, when I think of motorcycle, I don't think of street bikes. You know, maybe one day I will. I'll grow my collection. That's now the overall plan.
As it starts, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Harleys, I knew, like, great built bikes. They're, you know, trusted, that kind of stuff. And
I agree.
it just fit my personality. And I even got the bike that of course the new one, the spruce color, which also means, however, there's no aftermarket parts for it. And I've learned what aftermarket parts are. I see. I'm taking notes.
That's a bummer, right? So when you buy a brand new bike and it's suddenly released, whatever bike it may be, and the first thing that you think about is available parts from the dealership, and then of course aftermarket parts, and then we Harley owners are special kind of people. In fact, that's what they made it for anyway. It's a blank canvas. You're supposed to be able to take it and change it to the way it fits you, right? And ultimately, if you buy a brand new bike, I know I've been quite guilty of buying a couple of brand new Harleys, and then go onto the catalog and realize there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Then go to the aftermarket and say, oh, we're not ready to put out stuff yet. Then you're stuck with the stock stuff for at least a year. So that's kind of a bummer. So I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
A theme for my bike is, so my husband is in the Air Force and he's a maintainer. And my goal is to try and sneak as many jet parts on my bike as possible. Right now, I have the caps for my wheels are the same as on a F-16. So, yeah, they're just yellow. You wouldn't know it, but I kind of asked him. I was like, "How many things can I put on here?" He goes, "I don't know." But it's something cool like that, and there's a lot of things I want to do, like get saddlebags and all that kind of other stuff. Sissy bar but I like having that theme and having kind of that blank canvas.
Exactly. I think most of the Harley bikes are that way, and I think this person here. Welcome to the BlackPhoenix Entertainment. Hey, we'll be able to talk about something else, right?
Hello.
He's the teacher to the teach.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, how's it going, man?
How you been?
Good. Made it.
For those of you who don't know, BlackPhoenix Entertainment rides a Spyder. That's an excellent bike. It takes a different kind of handling. And, why don't you tell us a little bit about your choices and what made you decide on the Spyder, for instance?
I was kind of forced into the Spyder. About 12 years ago, I dumped a old, I guess it was a Honda Nighthawk. I think it was an old, little 250cc bike.
Yeah.
High-sided it, busted my shoulder, busted my back. Never touched a motorcycle since. And then I saw a group of 4 Spyders go by at an ice cream shop. And I was like, I think I can do that. So I started talking to those guys. I'm like, this gets them back out riding, all of that. Because they were older, and one of them actually had a leg injury. And he couldn't do a motorcycle anymore. And that's why he was on Spyder. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll try one. So Can-Am was actually sponsoring a almost like a 2-day course on it.
Oh, okay.
So I decided to do that before I did anything else.
Right.
So
that's probably, we now know your motivation, obviously. And if for in your case, it's a brand new bike, I assume.
It's used. It's a 2013.
2013. Okay. So in that course that you took, did they take you through on what to look out for in a Spyder?
That was part of it because there's so many unknowns about the Spyder. I still get people asking me questions when I pull in the parking lots. No one knows about them. So you take the course. That's a big part of it.
Right. And what's the difference between a Spyder? I know it's a trike. Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, Mike. If you want to, jump out so April can hear both sides of the conversation.
Yeah,
we understand.
I'll drop out, and thanks for having me on, guys. And
hey, thanks, Mike.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
great
you
job.
do.
Appreciate you coming, man.
Appreciate you coming in today. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Right. So, what was I saying, or what was I asking? Yeah. Right. So, they did teach you in the course what to look out for. And what do you tell us a little bit? I know that it's kind of a trike because you got 2 front wheels in a sense, right?
Right.
And what's the difference for those who are looking out to get a trike or a Spyder? What is it that they'll be looking out for, or should look out for, or understand?
It's I think if you're never ridden a motorcycle before in your life or touched one, it's a lot easier to get used to a Spyder than it is that if you're coming from 2 wheels. The biggest thing that people get hung up on is there's one brake and it's an automatic. Like I've got paddle shifters on the left side. There's no clutch.
Right.
So it's just a sequential shifter there. And the 1 foot brake on the right does all 3 brakes. And there were a couple people in my class that got hung up on that, first day. Because, if you're coming from a motorcycle, you want to reach for those handlebars, you want to reach for the handle brake, you want to reach for the clutch, and it's just not there. And the handling is a big thing. Can-Am did a really good job with the traction control and stability control. Right. So it's not going to flip on you, but what it will do is tail whip. And you've got to be really careful. When you're going into a turn too much, it'll kick back. It'll kick back on you. But if you're going way too hard, that back end is just going to whip you off, almost like a jet ski or a snowmobile. Sure. The same type of deal.
You're saying it can drift. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I've gotten mine sideways quite a few times, and I will admit it has almost thrown me off. But you learn quick. That one time it happens, you're like, okay, I can't.
That's learn quick.
Yeah, that's the limit of the Spyder.
Yep. Yeah, there's many things you learn quick. Front brake, if you grab that when you're not supposed to, and then when you rock, well, you guys probably have ABS, but when you lock up that rear brake for the first time, that's an OS moment for sure.
Oh yeah, or loose gravel on the ground when you really like let it rip and you're like, oh crap.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I don't run into because I've got it's got Brembo brakes, ABS. I can slam on the brake as hard as I want, even in a turn, doesn't matter. So what happens is you learn bad habits. So you still riding the Spyder. I still have to remind myself that sometimes ride it like it's on two wheels. You know, even though I have that third extra wheel, because you develop bad habits. You get too comfortable, and then things can still happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're as exposed as us on two wheels is. I mean,
Right.
I mean, they can't see you, they can't see us. I mean, if you get hit, you're getting hit hard like we're getting hit hard. So
Right. There's no low side for me.
No low side.
No low side. It's all high side impact. So gotta be extra careful.
There you go.
And then now riding a regular bike and riding the Spyder, for instance, what is the handling like in terms of the handlebars, for instance, when you're taking a corner?
It is a little strange because I personally, because I have the sports model, the RS, it's more of a sports position seating up, kind of like a Ninja or like an R1 or something like that.
Right.
So I actually lean with it, and that helps me just kind of focus through the turn.
Right.
A lot of the touring guys and the guys that have the Cruiser F3s, they're laying back, they're just doing the handlebars and just looking. There's no leaning with it.
Right.
So,
But because I ride it more aggressively, I feel like I do the lean with it.
so like with a motorcycle, you look where you want to go. Is it relevant with that on a Spyder as well?
Yeah, definitely, because it will it will understeer and go straight on you if you don't. It's the same type of deal.
Cool.
But it's a lot easier to recover from that than you would on two wheels.
Exactly.
Because like I said, you can just smash the brakes and come to a stop.
All crunched up. So Ms Mototeach,
go ahead.
sorry. I
was
thought of something.
just going to ask if she has had any close calls yet, since she is a new rider. Because I, as a new rider, screwed up. So I just wonder if she's had any close calls or experiences yet.
I thankfully, so I live in the Phoenix area, which I always find I always laugh since BlackPhoenix has helped me out and Phoenix is in my name or where I live. I have not, thankfully, yet, just because when I now ride, I try to do a lot of my motovlogging in the morning because Phoenix right now is hot as hell. Like 14 degrees at some points in the peak of the day. So I don't get a lot of people on the road. I have had like somebody almost pull out in front of me, but nothing too crazy yet. It's either because, as my husband would put it, I drive like Miss Daisy, but I'm not anymore. But I will say this, and I don't care if I'm shaming him right now. He rides a Sportster, so every time we go into a dealership or something, they go, "Are you tired of her leaving in the dust, like kicking around?" And he just kind of does a face, and he talks about how he wants to get a lowrider S.
I'm sure that's a great question. It's like, "Hey, what are you guys riding?" You're like, "I ride a Street Bob," and he's like, "Well, where are you riding?" "Oh, I'm on the Sportster."
I mean, his name for the bike is Morticia, and she's great. She's lovely. She's fantastic. But yeah, no, I haven't had. He's had some close calls, but I haven't yet, thankfully. I hear children.
Yeah, I like to say hello to Prairie Boy.
Hello.
Hello. The question I was going to ask was quite similar to what Brett was asking you. Basically, if in the MSF course, what displacement were you riding?
So they at the MSF, and yes, by the way, Webb, there isn't anything wrong with the Sporty at all. There isn't.
I rode too.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just funny when people are like, "Oh, is this your bike?" And I go, "No, that one's mine." And they go, "Oh, all right then." But at the MSF course, they had a variety of bikes. So I ended up on a 250 Honda Rebel, if that makes sense. I don't know. But they had different they had sporties. So they actually said, get on the bike that you either own, because some people were there because they hadn't taken the course in a while, or they need to get their endorsement because they moved in. So I chose the one that resembled more of a Harley, although they didn't have any Harleys there, and I found out why later.
Did you see those tanks?
Yes. So they go through like everything. Like we spent, I would say it felt like forever on just clutch and just going back and forth and all that stuff. And they do teach you about like stopping quickly and swerving and all that stuff, how to go over debris. They really go through everything, which is actually in my most recent video I just posted, which I talk about me getting my bike and going through the course. I highly suggest people do it. However, I say too, like, don't take the basic rider course if you don't think you're going to ride. Like, there's kind of like a beginner one. I mean, most of the people here probably know, but there is kind of like an intro just to see if you even would like it. Because if you take the basic rider and you either fail out or you don't like it, you ain't getting that money back. And that's a lot, especially for me being a public school teacher. I still don't know how I afford my bike. I really don't. All I was told is that if I ever want to apply for a mortgage, I'm a perfect candidate. Yeah.
No, I feel you. I mean, we're all working class stiffs, so we don't earn the big bucks. So,
no.
But the other question would be with the MSF course, which is similar to what we do here in Singapore. This is where I'm from. We have similar courses, but ours is broken up by displacement. But in your case, it's displacement. No matter what displacement you are on the MSF course, you straight away can decide after what to go for. So jumping from a 250 to a 107. Now that's a big leap, right? So
Yeah.
what would you recommend to others doing that, or would you recommend them, forget about it, let's just go for it? Yeah, go for the jet and don't go for the bicycle.
I just say it depends on your comfort level. I mean, for me, I had great guides. I talked to people who had bikes. So I had a lot of guidance and stuff. And then even when I test drove it, my the salesperson had me first ride around the parking lot. Like, they had the group ride going, but he's like, I'm not putting you in that, because especially for me, somebody who's not on the road and all that stuff. Right. So I rode around a little bit in the parking lot. And then what he did is that he got on a bike and he got another friend. So it was 3 of us. And we rode, and so I could actually get the feel. And it really was baby steps. Like, I'm not ashamed to say that it took me a little bit in the parking lot near where I live to get me to where I wanted. And then because of where I live, I just had to going up and around the block a few times. And then when I finally felt comfortable on a Sunday morning before, either everybody's in church or whatnot, riding, I actually rode my bike, to work with my husband in the car behind me, which was very funny because we both were wearing our helmets. So he was looking like he was driving a rally car so he could talk to me. I don't know why he could just use his phone and the Bluetooth, but we both had our helmets on. But he rode behind me, so I knew that at least the car behind me I could trust. And so I would just say, if you can do it if you're comfortable to do that and want to take the time. Really, I was also very fortunate that I had time to do it.
So Viva La Banana, Mr. BlackPhoenix says, would you ever consider getting a second bike or second recreational vehicle? What would it be if you could also?
Yeah, I've actually been looking at bikes, and my wife isn't happy because, like, my body, because I with my back and my shoulder problems, I'm actually feeling good. and there are days where I know I could ride, but I feel like if I only had a bike, it would sit there more than I would ride it. So if I had a choice between a Spyder and a bike on the days I feel good, I could take a bike, and then take the Spyder on days where I'm not feeling so good. But yeah, I've been looking at the sports bikes, so I don't know how well that's gonna go, but maybe I should get a friend and ride one of his first before I really make that jump.
There you go. Or what you could do is convince the wife that she needs to be riding and get her a motorcycle. And then when she hasn't ridden it in a few days, like, well, I'm just going to go clean up the cobwebs in it for you. And then you get to go ride it. There you go. Problem solved. Problem solved.
Yeah, I probably have. So I'm actually visiting my parents right now, and I have a very strong feeling somebody might be borrowing a Dira and taking her to work.
Huh?
I mean, that's the thing in me. It's
You got my nose. Oh, you got my nose.
my husband doesn't have to worry about getting a new bike, although I don't want him to get a new bike because I don't want him getting something powerful than mine.
Right, then you got to catch up to him.
Exactly.
I apologize if you guys heard someone get my nose just now. I thought I muted myself.
Did you get it back?
He did get it back. He was very nice.
Oh, he didn't eat it?
No, not this time. Not this
Oh,
time.
okay, cool. Okay.
Scouse.
Hey, Scouse in the house. No worries, Scouse. All good, all good. And oh, by the way, thank God Liverpool won and not Arsenal. That's a soccer joke, between the two of us. I don't know if you guys watch soccer or not, especially the English league. But the Liverpool, which is the team that he supports, and I quite support them as well, and they did quite well today.
Mhm.
So he's all out celebrating.
Woo.
Excellent.
I think he's beyond celebrating at this point.
Yeah, I know. It started out like 2 hours ago or something, and we were in his stream for a bit. But awesome. For me, I would probably consider buying a second bike if, number one, I could afford it. Number two, then the dilemma would be, I have two bikes. It says Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the Sportster or whatever. And then the rest of the days, and then like God, we take a day off on Sunday, and don't ride any bikes whatsoever, then it starts all over again. So that was a problem for me in the beginning, because when I first started out, I was really into bikes, and I started riding when I was 18. I'm not a young chicken anymore. And so I ended up having a dirt bike and a regular street bike to ride to work and stuff, and then take stuff off road. And it became a problem choosing. So I don't want to end up having to choose bikes to ride unless I'm like Brett, who had his wifey rides another bike. So he can always decide to, okay, I'm sick of my bike. Let's go ride the other one, right? So that would probably be an answer I would give.
Yeah, and I want another bike as well, but responsibilities coming up. So as far as what it would be, I kind of want something different from the typical Harley or crotch rocket, because one, I'm a big guy. Crotch rocket to me would not look right, but I want a Triumph or a Royal Enfield, something that has that kind of classic 60s, 70s hipster look, which I know is such a millennial thing to actually be saying because that's what they're into. But
you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
I'm an elder millennial. You're fine.
I missed Gen X by 1 year, so I was like, but
I'm a boomer. So okay, boomer.
I was gonna say it.
Yep.
I'm okay. I'm at that age I can say stuff, Yeah, I like to say hello to Anonymous Biker. Yeah, 3 bikes is a bit too much, I think.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you can you jump in and if you can jump in and talk a little bit about your bikes as well? I think it'll be great because I think he rides something completely different from what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put the link in the side chat.
He says I need the Triumph Rocket 3. I would have to agree that would be a badass bike to ride. The Rocket 3.
Yeah, no. Oh, okay, that's just way too, I tried it once and I think that's just way too much power, and you go mad.
It's a car motor.
It is. I mean, the closest I've come to a super bike is the Hayabusa, which is a Suzuki.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
at that time, I think it was the 90s. It was the most powerful bike in the
powerful
world. You could hit without changing anything stock. You could still hit about 350, almost 400 kilometers an hour. So that's what, like 200, 250.
That's exactly what I need.
Yeah. So
There was a guy last weekend that dumped a Hayabusa on a highway local to me.
Oh,
Wow.
But all the kids are buying them because right now they're cheaper than they were. But they just can't handle them. It's too much.
Yeah.
You know, and they're
I'd
big
like to
bikes
try
too.
it.
Like they're beautiful big bikes, but they're just
they're insane. I mean, to me, is the funny thing about powerful bikes and heavy displacement. Or in fact, in this case, it's only 1,300 cc's. It's not about the displacement, but about the horsepower. And I think the problem with bikes that have a lot of horse on the rear wheel, that you just want to go faster, right? So I'm doing about 80 to 90 miles an hour, and I feel like I'm just running at the side of it. That's the kind of feeling you get. So then you just want to push it. Then you're above the speed limit. Then you want to push it again, right? So I remember once I wanted to try, say, okay, this thing says 350 on a meter, and on a straight road on the highway across the border, I just pushed it to 300. But then the feeling changes, right? Then you realize that, okay, I'm about to take off. So I think I need to throttle back, right? You can't hit exactly, and I like it would take off. And the worst part is that you can't hit the brakes to slow down. It's got to be all engine brake.
right.
And then you realize from 320 to safely say about 190 before you can touch the brakes, you've already crossed maybe about 5 to 8 miles.
Jeez.
And a stop just to get it to stop, right? Then you see the bumper of the car that's coming closer and closer. And that's the reason why I decided, okay, forget about the Hayabusa. I'm dumping this. I'm getting a Harley. I'm too old for this shit. You know, that's the good and bad
See you,
about
Randy.
Performance Man. Yeah, thanks, Randy. Right.
Yeah, so Superman Kev brings up a good point. He loves V-Rods. Yeah. My dad just got one. I love riding that thing. I think that's like a good kind of mixture bike between, wanting something that's really fast and then your typical Harley cruiser speed, because it goes really good. But at the same time, if you want it to be a cruiser, it can still be a cruiser.
Mhm.
So hopefully he gets tired of it at some point and just wants to sell it to me for $1. But we'll see.
You can negotiate between families, so it's not a problem, right? So
So
just swap bikes,
I don't even know what I would want for a second bike, because I'm just getting used to this one.
yeah. Well, you eventually get that urge for the second one. And honestly, I say I would love a second bike, but I barely have time to ride the one bike I do have. So it's like, I want 2 bikes, I guess, just to stare at them in the garage. I don't know. But granted, there's already 2 there. I want 3 to stare at in the garage. But I get out maybe once or twice a week is all I get a chance to ride. So it's like I'd have a bike sitting for 2 or 3 weeks before I get a chance. So.
I know. It's
I think it's good if you get 2 bikes that do 2 completely different things. Because Moto G Spot just bought an adventure bike, and he's still got his sports bike. So something like that, where you can do, okay, what do I want to do today?
Right.
Thing.
And I think once I'm older, once the kids are growing a little bit and we can go on overnight trips more so, I think the wife and I would be wanting to look into something like with a touring aspect, either like a Road King, or I think Road King's about as far as I want to go as far as those touring goes. I don't need the big giant fairings, but something that's comfortable for a long trip with some saddlebags. I think that's going to be our approach, because then we could go camp for a couple days and then come back. But those kids have to get older first.
Darn kids always getting in the way.
They do.
I just throw mine on the back. It's fine.
I can't do a lot with my kids because they're not really mine. I just see them for 8 hours. Although some of them are like, "Can I ride on your motorcycle?" No. Why not? Well, you don't do your work. What if I do my work?
No.
Well, then we'll talk.
Still going to be no, but
Yeah.
do your work.
Dream on.
Yeah, I actually get some of them have my school email, and I've been getting emails all summer. Do you do donuts? Can you come pick us up?
Maybe once they're not your students anymore, you could get away with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I think talking about second bikes, I think my choice would probably be an adventure bike. Why I say this is because I think for those of us who own Harleys, we know that it doesn't handle well on bad roads.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think we're lucky where I am in Singapore. I've ridden in the United States, so I know the quality of the roads there. They can handle those kind of roads. It's not really very bad. Even if you talk about the so-called country roads, they're not dirt roads, really. They're still roads, it's still asphalt, but it's not so bad. Now, where I am in Asia, and if you look at the map, Singapore, then there's Malaysia. We're a little island, and then across is the big peninsula called Malaysia, and then Thailand. As we get further north, roads are not roads anymore. They call it a road, but when we get there, and we're thinking, are you guys nuts? That's not a road. That's just a dirt trail, man. Come on. And then when we get to some of the so-called highways, we're thinking, there's so many potholes here, man. I'm not, then you feel that the bike slipping and stuff, and then you have to drop below the speed limit just to be able to handle it. So I think a dirt bike, an adventure bike will be able to handle all terrain. It really sucks when you see a BMW just passing you by and the guy's like grinning and waving off at you, and then you're chugging along at like 50 miles an hour or something.
Hanging off for dear life.
Exactly. So that's really sad. And it means that I'm restricted to where I can go. I can't go way past into Thailand or even to Vietnam, which we're pretty close to. It's only about 1,000 miles. Right? Okay. You can do it in a day. So that will probably be what I'm thinking of getting. But then again, that's my situation, right? But if I was in the States, forget it. I'll just keep my Harley.
Yeah. I know. I actually, November-ish, I'll be moving to Italy for a little bit. And I heard Harleys don't exactly do well there, but they're ogled by everyone there. So I know probably something that can handle those tiny turns and stuff like that, or I'll just get better at it. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, I know they have very bumpy roads because they're all like original brick roads from. Hey, you're a history teacher. How old are they? I don't know. How old are the roads in Italy?
Pretty damn old.
There we go.
I've driven in.
I will say the roads in Rome are. Okay, little history fact. They are the first roads ever built, paved roads where it was the Roman Empire. There you go. Didn't think you would learn something about that, did you?
There we go.
No.
Just drop that knowledge on you.
But you're right. I think when I drove, I didn't ride. I actually drove a car in Italy. Mm-hmm. North in Milan and Florence is still pretty okay. Mm-hmm. I think when you start to hit Venice and Rome, they're not roads anymore. They're just cobbled streets, right? And that's not something a Harley can handle. I think that's something we need to take a look at when we decide on the kind of bike. It depends on which part of Italy. Which part of Italy are you looking to go to?
Mm-hmm. All of it.
Oh, okay. So you'll be changing bikes all the way. Anyway. That'd be great, right? So a Harley from here, and I'm gonna take some other bike. This part of Italy, or even a scooter, right? They're big on Vespas there.
Yeah.
There you go. I want to see Fletch on a Vespa.
Well, I started out on Vespa
with
when I was
his
17.
Harley riding gear on, though, of course, too.
I will say
like
the last Vespa I owned belonged to my Barbie. So go ahead.
So obviously, my significant other rides. It sounds like your husband rides. So what about your wife? Does she have ever any plans to ride her own bike, though? I know I was kind of joking about it earlier, but does she have any plans to ride her own, or is it just more passenger only for her?
It would just be passenger only. She doesn't. Cool. And she's really tiny and has some health issues, so I don't think she would really be comfortable trying to ride something on her own. Because she was really hesitant being on the back of it, and I took her like a local graveyard at 10 miles an hour. She's like, oh, this isn't that bad. I think it was like that fear thing of just being on the back of it. And I'm like, I'm not leaning. It just stays up. I got a backrest on it, you know. Yeah. Then once she felt that comfortable, she's like, okay, now we can go out on the roads and take some trips.
I've never rode passenger, but I think it would take a lot of trust for that for that relationship to work. So yeah, never been on the back of a motorcycle yet. That's going to be a bad day when it is.
I think I won't be on the back of anybody's motorcycle because I'm still a boomer, so there's no guy is supposed to be sitting in the back. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a word for that, but I'm not going to say it.
No, neither am I.
I think I've only been on the back of it twice. When I was 12, which was my first motorcycle ride on a Harley, and then recently on the back of my husband's bike to make him feel better.
2 up on a Sportster, that's cramped usually.
Hey, I'm vertically challenged. It was perfect for me. I was totally fine.
A lot of alcohol does help, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was actually to help me get over my fear of turning on my own before I took the class. So, and he did a good job. He didn't scare me.
Yeah, I have to admit, sometimes I do forget she's back there. So I'll gun it a little bit. I'm like, oh, wait, sorry.
That's the thing, you know. I discovered
you just feel this, don't you?
Yeah,
exactly. But my experience is a little bit different in the sense that I was quite lucky to have girlfriends who had motorcycle licenses, but they rather ride behind than with me for whatever reason. And the flip side of that is that you have a passenger in the back that's so comfortable because they know how the bike handles, right? And it falls asleep. So then I have to look at the mirror and see if she hasn't fallen off or something, you know. So if I realize that nobody's behind me, that she's fallen off or something. So
or she starts leaning this way, and you have to counter and balance it out the other way.
Exactly. Or she's just nodding off or something, you know, which is the worst thing in the world. So then we have to stop and then, you know, get a coffee and a couple of cigarettes and then get off. And I have to constantly not look for traffic, but look for her nodding off in the back. That's so sad, man.
That's when you got to start looking for those bumps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool, Webb.
Yeah.
I wonder what that would feel like going backwards. Oh, I don't think the inertia effect of going backwards on a motorcycle, that'd freak me out. Even if it was just to get video.
Well, you could ask the people, all the people who rode in the back of Volvos. They probably could tell you.
With the backward seat, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I may be young, but I remember that. Or at least I knew people who had that.
Yeah, that brought up something for me. So let me just see if I can share this. I had a colleague who kept pestering me to send her to send her to work. And so this is it. And this is what it looks like with the camera pointing back. You know, she was having a time of her life.
Nice.
Yeah, she wants to get on, but her mom was on me first for taking her on the bike in the first place. So it's quite bad. Because she said, hey, you know, I'm sick of taking the bus. Why don't you take me to work? And say, okay, fine. Yeah, get on the back. Look at that. I stuck a GoPro and faced it back, you know, and she didn't know it. Right? She's talking to me and stuff. You know, then when I posted this, she's going, what the hell? You know, I'm on the bike and everybody sees me and nobody knows what's going on. My mom saw it and she's pissed with me, blah, blah. It's like, okay.
And they broke up.
No, she's not my girlfriend. She's she does the account, so I have to be careful. Right?
Oh,
salary I give her a free ride, you know. Yeah, she's a salary person, you know. So it was fun. So I did that quite some time ago. So, you know,
that's 4 years. I'm sure she's over it by now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It usually takes that long, I hear.
Is that how long y'all hold grudges for? 4 years.
I don't know. I'm a very typical, like, non-typical. I mean, that's the thing. I walk into a Harley and I'm like, ooh, which one for me, and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm weird, but I love it.
Hey guys, in the side chat, I have 2 spots available. As you know, we can only got 6 people on here. Why don't you come on? Let me put the link in the side chat so that you can hop in. Webb, you've had a couple of bikes. Why don't you come and join us? Unless you're at work. And by the way, I'm also working.
Yeah.
Yeah, Webb's working too. Oh wait, but so's Fletch. Yeah.
No, it's only 10:30 here in Singapore, so it's a working day.
So
Skiving.
Black Phoenix, if you want to talk about some channels for right now, his kind of blew up here in the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what happened with that, but dude,
Moto Madness. That's how I found him.
It was Moto Madness.
Yeah.
He so I just did a call and I needed like 30 more subscribers to hit 200. I'm like, okay, that shouldn't be that bad. And then Moto Madness saw it, and then he shared out that video to his people, and they just flooded my channel and just started subbing and commenting and all this stuff. I'm like, this is crazy.
That's so crazy how you do something that you don't think is would maybe generate a little bit of traffic for you, then all of a sudden you're just hit with that instant holy crap, what's going on here? So congratulations on it though, man. Are you over 500 or 400 still?
It was like 460 last I checked, so I'm creeping up on 500. So
nice. Well, congratulations on that. We're all jealous.
Yeah.
I need to find a Moto Madness. That's good.
Man, the only thing I'm jealous about is you guys riding all the time. It's been raining for the last 2 to 3 weeks here. We even got floods and stuff. It's gone all biblical here. I think it's almost nowhere 40 days and 40 nights almost already. I think
that's crazy.
Floods and stuff. So I can't even ride, man. I can't even put out any videos because unless you want to see my mug on the video all the time. So I can't. So I'm kind of jealous.
Here. I've been riding for like 2 weeks straight. We're actually almost in a drought at this point. There's been lack of rain.
Yeah.
I just have to ride in the morning or the evenings, or else I burn to death inside my own gear.
Yeah, you're way too hot out there.
Well, I think. Oh, sorry. You meant the heat. Okay.
Oh, hey.
Sorry.
I knew I liked her for a reason.
Yeah, no, and kind of getting a handle on it, like this whole like thing and whatnot. But it's cool. It's a cool place. Like, it's a great community. Like, you guys are awesome.
I believe that both Black Phoenix and yourself, Ms Mototeach, are both from Phoenix. Is that correct?
No.
I'm East Coast, New England.
New England, and yourself, Ms Mototeach?
So I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I've made it. But right now I live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay,
you got out.
Because the reason why I mentioned that is because we got a lot of people in Phoenix and in Nevada, and obviously if you have 2 wheels, it doesn't matter how far you are. It's not that far anyway. If we have JP1970, he's in Elko, in Nevada, which is out in Las Vegas, so I don't think it's that far off from where you are. So hopefully we can get people together and physically ride, because here I've got a couple of local YouTubers that I can ride with, and I'm still trying to reach out to them to do something special. And I think it'd be great to be able to move in and get these people as well.
Yeah.
Hey, we got someone.
Hey, we got
Hello.
Superman Kev.
I did this so we wouldn't be twins anymore, man.
No.
Hey, Kev. So, good, man. So we're on the topic today of how to choose bikes. And by the way, Kevin is another teacher in a sense, because he used to do the MSF course in Canada, right? Or used to conduct those, right, as a teacher, right? So I think from a perspective of both a person who conducted those courses and, of course, for a bike owner, what would you be looking out to decide on what kind of bike that you would get?
You know what? I love the bike I have. I would love to have a V-Rod, I know, or a Road King. But the thing is, like, I had two bikes for a while. I had my Honda Magna, and what ends up happening is my Magna was beautiful, and I'd owned it since new.
Right.
It sat there, and it ended up just being a garage trophy. So, really, if you're going to have two bikes, if you're not going to ride it, it's expensive. Like, it cost me too much for insurance just to have it sit there. I rode it once. I paid insurance for a whole year, and I rode it once. So I think I paid $500 for insurance on the second bike. It was an expensive ride.
Sure. I think I know from what I hear from Road Rash and our fellow Canadians that I think insurance is pretty expensive over there. And here in Singapore, it's not so much the insurance, but we have to literally pay another kind of tax on it to literally own the bike. And that's equivalent to about 20% of the bike, 25% of the bike, which is puts a hefty price on it. So I get it. But what would you advise someone who's looking for a new bike, or what were your considerations if you were looking for a new bike?
If they were a brand new rider and they were looking for a new bike, I would say get something that is not high horsepower to learn on, because if you get something that's too much horsepower, too much bike, you're gonna end up hurt. I mean, the long and the short of it, you're gonna end up hurt. You need to have, like, a good friend of mine. I suggested for him to buy a Shadow 750, and he rode that bike for 2 or 3 years, and he was really happy with it, and now he has a bigger bike. But don't get something too big and think, oh, well, I'll learn. I know another guy who tried to buy a GSXR 1000, and then he bought a Ninja 1000, and he used to store his bike out at my place, and that thing was insane. I didn't like riding it. He made me ride the GSXR to bring it over to my house. And I think I put it in the comments. I was going along at 60 miles an hour, and I pulled out to pass a car, and I dropped it a gear, which was a mistake. And the front wheel came off the ground. And when I pulled back in, I was doing 100 or 160 kilometers. And like in the length of passing a car, I went from 60 to 100, on one wheel.
So
It was dumb.
I have to ask then, since you taught motorcycles.
Yes.
So someone out of the 5 of us in here went from doing a 250 Rebel in the MSF course to either having a 107 or 114 Softail. What advice would you give them?
You know what? I taught a lot of people that were like that, and it was typically women. And you know what? The thing I will tell you is that you will drop it.
I dropped, guys, to be fair, I dropped mine. So it happens.
Everybody I know, who, when you start, you're going to drop your bike. And so if you can afford to drop a $20,000 motorcycle, okay. If you can't, that's probably not the bike to start with. Just saying.
Do you have any sort of crash bars on it yet or anything like that?
No.
No.
No, and I will say, okay, I've technically dropped it 3 times. One time I was backing out of the garage, but I picked it up by myself because I taught myself how.
Right.
And it was actually kind of easy. It was a little surprising. But the other 2 times, one was I was following my husband, and he decided to go a different way, and I wasn't prepared. I was stopping, and I just over.
Yep.
The second time, was I stopped and I didn't realize I was still in fourth.
Yep.
And but I will say, and what I was told, both in my course and with my person who sold me my bike, because I am a woman, someone will always help me.
Yeah, that's true. Probably.
Someone will, and yes, and there both times I had about 4 guys just run.
You know what? It doesn't make it any less embarrassing.
No, it does not.
Because I will tell you, and I hate to admit this, but I will admit it. Last summer, I think it was last summer, my wife and we went on my Harley, and she had to go to the bathroom. And I pulled into a gas station, and she was in a big hurry to get off the bike. I stopped. She stood on the floorboard to get off, and I wasn't ready. I didn't have my feet down yet. And the bike started to go. I put my foot down. I couldn't stop it, and it fell over. Now that was okay because I'm stopped pretty much, and it's on the crash bar, and we weren't moving. Mm-hmm. But what was embarrassing is it was 2 guys that were about 112 and 115 who were on their Honda Goldwings who had to come over and pick up my bike. So I had these 2 real old guys, you know, lifting up my Harley, the young guy, you know. I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, it's okay, buddy. It happens to all of us."
Doesn't mean it still feels great.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, and I found, so when I looked it up, it's if it's on its side, what you do is it looks like you sit on it.
Yeah.
But you don't, and you use your leg muscles. And the one thing I would say actually they didn't teach us in the MSF course was that. And I'm surprised because I heard in some other courses they do, because of course, with being a new rider, like you said, Kevin, you're going to drop your bike at some point, whether it is like me, I just backed it out, or I stopped too short or whatnot. But I was kind of surprised that they didn't actually teach us that. But
that's weird. In mine, they did teach us that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just on the Rebels, but still they taught us how to kind of do the backwards walk to get it back up right. But
yeah,
I know when I crashed, I didn't do it that way. I had the adrenaline rush, so I just heaved the 600-pound bike just like it was nothing, and then I was like, yes.
Yeah,
and then someone stopped to ask if I was doing okay. It wasn't until I had the bike back upright that anyone stopped to help me. So
yeah,
in the advanced motor course, if you go with the policeman, they show you 2 different ways to lift it, and the one way is the way you just described, and the other way is where you actually push it down and make it rock on the crash bar, and then pick it up.
Oh.
And it's the only thing with that is you're going to scratch up your crash bar, and when they do it in the class, they have that they put foam on the bars, you know. So, but yeah, I in a pinch you can do it that way too, or like you were saying there, Chopper Fett, if you got enough adrenaline, you can probably pick it up.
But you have to also maintain what's going on in your head too, because when you get to that adrenaline, you stop thinking things.
Yeah.
So I went down to the right, and so I'm getting the bike picked back up, and I'm like, crap, if I pick this bike back up, I'm just going to tip it over the other way. So luckily, before I got too far into it, I reached over and put the kickstand down so it would fall onto the kickstand, and it did. But God, could you imagine? Okay, you're already embarrassed enough. You get this bike up, and then you just drop it to the other side. I think I would just walk away and leave the bike. I'm like, I'm done.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly right, man.
Yeah.
I think there's another one that some people do teach. It's like as if you're in the gym and you're doing squats, right? So you literally put your back to the bike and lift it up. I think that's not a good idea because a lot of times, as you mentioned, right, Kev, it's all about the adrenaline. So you drop the bike. The first thing you're thinking of is, I'm so embarrassed. I need to get this thing off the ground. right? And if you do it that way, then you're gonna flip the bike, which I've seen a lot on the internet of people trying to do it that way, and I think it's not a good idea, because they say yes, you're using more your legs than your arms. You got more muscles, obviously, in your legs, but in a situation like that, you just want to get it off the floor. God damn it, right? And then you're just gonna flip it on the other side, and you're back to square one. And worse still, the side stands on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's bad.
How about spiders? How do they get back on the right side if they fall over?
We're probably too hurt to worry about it at that point.
Yeah.
You can flip that.
It's a really bad, it's a
Spider,
really
you're
bad
in
day if you're
trouble.
on your side.
That's exactly right. Hey guys,
Oh, yeah.
on the side chat, I have one more spot available. I'm going to put the link outside. Come and join us. I know Full Throttle. Sorry, with your internet, I was just about to pull you in when I lost you there. If you think you can join us, come and join us. But for the rest of you, I still got one more spot. Please come and join us and tell us about your experiences, good or bad.
But yeah,
How many different bikes, Kev, have you purchased over your lifetime?
Oh, I don't know, about half a dozen. I've had them all for a long time. My very first one was an Interceptor. You want to talk about embarrassment? My very first night, okay, I bought this bike. I bought a 1984 Honda Interceptor, brand new. And it's red, white, and blue. And I had a red, white, and blue Honda helmet and a red, white, and blue jacket. Oh, I looked pretty cool.
You Power Rangered it, didn't you?
Yeah, I Power Ranger. So I pull into the Tim Hortons for all you non-Canadians.
I know what that is.
And,
I know about that. I know about that.
I pulled into Tim Hortons, and I'm all cool and I'm all that, and all the guys are there with their cars and bikes and everything, and I touched the front brake, not the back brake, and it grabbed in some gravel, and down I went. And when I fell down, I hit the throttle about as high as it will go, and that bike redlined at 15.5, and I think I hit the rev limiter at about 14,000 RPM. And so everybody in the parking lot looked and gave me one of these.
You got the slow clap.
And my bike was brand new, and I'm telling you, I have never been so embarrassed in all.
That's why it, like, getting a new bike scares me. Like, if you're a new rider, like, it's the same thing with, like, when you're a teenager, you get your first car. And I got a used car, and it was great because it had a CD player and a tape cassette player, and I was like golden. But like, yeah, because I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I feel you.
I still get embarrassed.
But you learn from it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think for us, I speak for the Harley guys, right? And I think if you buy a brand new Harley, you always look after your park. Most of us tend to be showy with our motorcycles, and we first scratch we see on it, we start raving and ranting. Imagine dropping a brand new bike. For us, I think we'll just park it and just cover it and forget about it. That's so bad.
I mean, I think Kev brought up a good point. I mean, if your prerogative is to buy a new bike, and just make sure you know that if you drop your new bike, you can afford to keep going with it, right? So, I mean, because it's all relative. I mean, I kind of did the same thing, but not quite the same thing as what she did, because I went from the 250. I went from the 250 Rebel in the training course, and before I even took the training course, I had bought my 96 twin cam Dyna. So I made really bad decisions.
You know what? I really believe that you need to start with something small and learn how to ride before you get a more expensive bike, because I don't know anybody, myself included, who when you start, you don't end up dropping the bike at least a few times.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're just moving it around, because you're not good at it, Yeah.
I know, like, for me, when I was making the decision to buy mine, it was I had to either pick the smaller bike or the larger. Like, it wasn't financially for me. Like, I couldn't necessarily buy the small bike and then sell it and get the new. It was kind of like either or. So I went with the one that I could grow with, that was fit better for me. I know that's what, part of my decision. Plus I had the gumption. Plus, if I wanted to, I could jump on my husband's Sportster and ride that until I really did feel more comfortable to ride my own.
Yeah.
Even though he had forward controls, that's a challenge.
You might think that's more comfortable, but that's also using someone else's bike. Like, I would feel terrible if I did that to someone else's bike. Like, if I, even if I dropped it and there's no damage, I'm going to feel like crap if I do that. And I probably should have started smaller, but when I sat on Sportsters, they didn't fit me, but I wanted to be a Harley guy from the get-go, because that was what my brother kind of ingrained. It's like, oh, I want a Harley. You're going to want a Harley. You're going to want a Harley. And it's true, I did. And so that's why it's like, well, I tried the Sportster. I sat on it. It's too small for me. I'll just buy this bike that's 150 pounds heavier, 2 times more powerful. I'll be fine. And in all honesty, except for the one time I was going 5 miles per hour and I hit the front brake like you did in the Hortons parking lot, that was what I did. I mean, that's what my laydown was gravel, front brake, and mine was at a cider mill. Yeah, mine was at a cider mill. I was going to get donuts, so I laid the bike down, picked it back up, walked inside, and I said, "They're like, how's your day?" I'm like, "It's terrible." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, "Because you have gravel in your driveway." And I still got my donuts though.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
that's the important part right there.
It was a very expensive donut run for sure.
Yeah, I stayed very late that night, and I waited till most of them were gone before I left.
Make sure the new crowd was in first.
Yeah.
Exactly. Little interruption here, guys. In the side chat, I just put up the link to Ms Mototeach. Let's bring her up to 100.
Aw.
Come on, guys.
Well,
Go
thank
ahead
you.
and sub her straight away.
She was at 30 something earlier when I subscribed to her.
I subscribed to her tonight too.
Oh,
48.
thank you.
49. She's at 49. Awesome.
Nice.
Woo! I didn't even know that. Holy crap.
And it's a funny thing, this YouTube thing, as these guys know. A little while ago, I don't know what happened. I got kind of like what happened to Phoenix there. Right. Is I had a video, for whatever reason, it just started to jive, and I went from like 200 to 500, and now it's slowed down again.
So
you could just take the course like I did. YouTube has like free courses that teach you like what, if you really want to get it up, like what you should do.
Yeah.
So I had kind of plateaued at like 250. So that's why I decided to make that giveaway video. You have to be a subscriber and you have to make a question comment in there, because one, it gives me a free video. But ever since I posted that, I guess we're coming up on 2 weeks ago, I've had one of my best jumps. I've had a plus 25 jump in that time frame. So it's like, and I don't think it's tied just to that giveaway. I think maybe a few of them clicked on through it, and then that tricked the YouTube algorithm to promote me differently. So I can't keep it straight.
I know. My thing too is like, if you come on my channel, which by the way, if you're a subscriber right now, thank you so much. I'm not going to just talk about motorcycles. Like, I talk about teaching stuff. Like, how do I know what I teach? Can kids be pains in the butt? Absolutely. Are there kids that I'm like, if you don't come in the next day, like things I can't necessarily say until afterwards, and kind of like and that's kind of my thing too, is I kind of want to start that dialogue so you can ask those questions and stuff like that, because whenever I talk about people, some people like they find that interesting, because they didn't know.
If Scouts Adventures ever asks you to come onto his channels you may not know live stream like we're doing here today, definitely take advantage of it. It's always usually good for a big boost in your initial stuff as well. And I keep saying it, that's where I met Fletch at. It's been all downhill actually since then. He makes me do this show every Thursday night now. It's so hard. No, it's really.
I know.
This
This is great. What are you talking about?
No, this is great. This is actually, kind of like my, it's really good. Actually, kind of like a stress relief for every Thursday night for me now. So if I can't ride, this is probably the next best thing.
Yeah.
Except for
Fun.
spending time with
I was
family.
telling Ms Mototeach I haven't done anything live in a while, so it's just a lot of fun hanging out with you guys.
Well,
You're doing the Twitch stuff too, don't you?
Yeah, I've been doing that when I have time. So I'm back to work now. So
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, so I wasn't working or anything like that with this whole COVID thing. I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Miss Moto there, you were talking about you do teaching stuff, and if you go to my channel, I end up you might end up seeing a pie in the face because I do training videos in motovlog. Well, kind of I don't motovlog, right?
It's not. Nope.
Right? I'm a motorcycle content creator.
Okay.
But, that's my line. But yeah, I do stupid videos too. I have a whole bunch of stupid videos. So
He has a split personality.
yes, I have a split.
Like we all. Like I'll tell you, this is my one. But if you went in my classroom, totally different. I'm still a dork.
Well,
I'm still totally different.
I'm Superman Kev and I am Clark Kev.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
You never know who you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I
think it's important, about content, and I think we're all going towards a good direction. I think BlackPhoenix tried to do the gaming thing, which I think some people are just bums about it. I think it's a good thing to be able to try something different.
Right.
Do content that excites you and that excites other people as well. Right. Kev, in his case, would be about lessons that he teaches as an instructor. And then both Brett and myself are looking into doing something different as well. I might go into music. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Yeah, because I think writing and music goes hand in hand anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Both of us, as you can see behind him, he has his guitar. Mine's just packed away. So we're both working on something that we could do together as well.
I used to want to be a music teacher, so I hear you.
Right. So it's all about content anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's all about things.
And on your content, so there's a video that I filmed the other day that I was just basically saying in my Fraudster, because I only ride when it's nice and cool outside, kind of either in the morning or the evening type thing. And when I filmed it, it was during my plateau of 250 where I was just not making any headway. I sounded so bummed out and depressed on that video. There was no joy. It's just there's nothing. I was like, I don't think I can even publish this now. I mean, it was that I'm out here doing a motovlog, blah blah blah. And if you do that, it's not going to help your channel at all. So that one got trashed, unfortunately. But But what was weird is I did the next video immediately after, the next episode after, and my voice was completely different because I think I liked the subject matter. So
yeah, it does show, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just want to go and hug this guy, poor thing.
We're talking about content, and Roland just asked me a question, and I'm just gonna throw this out. What ends up happening in YouTube a lot of times is the best projects are ones where you get other people involved. And so what this is a shameless plug. Okay, I'm going to make a shameless plug here.
No, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all about.
We are Mr. McStash and myself are going to start there's going to be a series. There's 8 motovloggers involved. Roland is one of them. And what's going to happen is we have a rubber duck. And this rubber duck is going to get thrown from one YouTuber to another, and it's going to go on adventures, and it's going to do all kinds of stupid stuff.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
we have handpicked 8 different guys who are going to do this, and it's going to end up in Australia, it's going to end up in New Zealand, and in Canada, and across the United States. And it's going to be very funny. The idea is to make it funny. And yes, Roland, you will be getting an email shortly with all the instructions. So anyway, yeah, we've been working on it for the last few days, trying to, well, actually it's been longer than a few days. We've been trying to figure it all out. But I think when you're a YouTube content creator, motorcycle stuff, you can't just keep doing the same things, and you have to kind of stretch a bit. I think we're all talking about that. And you have to find something that makes your channel different than the others. Yes. And for me, like mine is I do silly stuff and I do training stuff. And I film my stuff different than most everybody else. But you know what? That doesn't make mine better or worse. It's just different. And I think we all do something that's different. And I like watching all of these guys. I subscribe to all of you and pretty much everybody in the side chat as well. And I spend an awful lot of time watching videos, I have to say. It's hard to keep up with so many, but I try.
Yeah.
It is tough.
I think on that subject, there's something that I need to bring up as well. I think as we all grow, and I think it's starting to be difficult once you start to hit the 400 or 500 mark, is when then you have that many subscribers that you want to support to, right? And most of them happen to be people that we know. And then suddenly every single day, or at least the peak days, right? Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, you get everybody's posting videos, and you're hard pressed to watch them, right? And I think what happens really bad for all of us is that we go in, we spend a minute there, and we go off, and that doesn't help the algorithm.
Yeah.
And what happens with the algorithm is that they say, oh, everybody's jumping out after a minute. This is a lousy video. They're not going to push it, right? So I would rather suggest that people watch when they can, watch what they can watch, and watch it as much as they can. To me, I think the threshold is 5 minutes. Anything less than 5 minutes gets written off, right? So I think if we do have to support someone, watch it for at least 5 minutes, give them a like, comment if you can, then this helps the algorithm a lot. If you're going to go in and help me by coming in there for a minute, just give me a like and getting off. That's not helping anybody at all. So I think we should consider that and take that into account.
Yeah, no, that's something like I kind of actually like now have scheduled a block of time where I take the time and I watch, and I also go back and watch, especially if it's somebody new that I've subscribed to. I go back and watch their old videos too, because that also it helps and stuff like that. And I mean, my whole thing was I used to watch it in the morning when I was getting ready for school. Well, COVID screwed that up because I ended up staying home and teaching about 10 kids out of 35. But that's the thing. You're watching this for enjoyment. I mean, that's the thing is like we're supporting, but it also means like kind of in a sense putting in work. Like you're watching the videos that are being posted, and I mean not every video is going to jive with you possibly, but that's okay, But yeah, definitely kind of even watching half of it or something like that will always help, and then you're kind of also in the know, and it's cool because we're all telling the same story in different ways. Exactly. Different perspectives, different experiences. Like for me, I'm a new rider. I ride a Harley. I'm a short woman on a Harley. And I drive in one of the hottest places like ever in the United States. So I mean there's something right there, and it's great because I know for me, like when I teach my students like certain things, like everything, even it might be one event, there's different perspectives, and you should always respect and explore those because you never know what you're going to find or learn.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I found setting aside a block of time is the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
And then sneak some in at work, because you can do that.
Yep. Yep, on my prep when I don't want to deal with anybody else.
I'm
I think,
retired.
I think Sister Rod and I.
But yeah, I'll look
Rod and I
at
did the
what's up
same
with
thing.
videos in the morning, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna hit these videos today. Like whether I'll just mark it down, be like, okay, so and so did this, so and so did that. I'm gonna watch that for today, and then the next day I'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
And sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, so and like for me, I know with me being a new channel and kind of like I want to push content out as much as I do, but kind of something I want to do is just do one video at a time, because then there's not multiple things that everybody has to watch, and that's going to mess me up. If I do one a week, then that's just one a week that you have to watch.
Right.
And as I know for me, as long as I'm consistent, that's kind of the key. And plus, I think it's helpful because I think sometimes with a lot of YouTubers, when they start posting so often, then there's an overload and there's too much to watch. And it works for some because that's just them, but for others, it might actually end up hurting them. And that's kind of what I've seen.
I feel like I know the ones for me personally who do take a true interest in my channel. I would say the people in our side chat and in our chat room here, a lot of those are my true followers, I would say. And I think I got Kev's attention because we kind of share a same brain, same sarcasm. But you know, when I'm looking at it and I see, because I'm probably subscribed to about 200 people as well who have subscribed back, and I do the subs for something, which whatever. But then you log in and you see a subscription page of this. I've gotten to the point where I do as much as I can, but I will go through and I will find the videos or the people who look the most interesting to me first. And then if I have time, I'll go back and hit the other, channels who are less supportive of myself. And, I put my name on those other videos because, again, the more you can promote yourself other places, the better, even if it's like a blockhead video. I mean, I feel like I've probably gotten a few just off of him because he might like a comment or something like that, and they might check out your channel type of thing. So, but that's how I prioritize it. Is I know you know who comments regularly on your videos, who's really watching. So I'll definitely be supporting them first, and then if I have time, go back with the others.
Yeah, and if you're really lucky, you'll get a shout out. Like I got a shout out one time from John Maxwell, and I'll tell you, you get one like that, boy, your numbers go.
Yeah.
You get one of those big guys recognize
Moto
you.
Madness.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that I think how I even got on here is that I commented something on BlackPhoenix and he checked me out.
Right.
And this started this whole thing, and now I'm here and I like it here. I don't know about you guys liking me, like being here.
We welcome you for sure. Of course. Look at all the thorns here, man.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like, I've done a lot of research on YouTube, but like some of the guys that have come before us with Suburban Delinquent, you got Walterific, Jake the Garden Snake. They did all the same things that I'm trying to do, especially with Ms Mototeach here. They collaborated together. Yeah. They made short little films, put it on each other's channel, and they all exploded at the same time. I almost want to kind of revisit history and kind of do that with us, like this group that we have here. So some of you have already reached out to. I do have a side project going on that I'm trying to do something similar with that.
Well,
I caught you missing.
Exactly what I was saying. Like, you almost have to. You don't. Nobody does this on their own. Like you don't grow without help from others.
In fact, I think. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just trying to throw the support MVC plug out there if she's not part of that already. Support MVC hashtag like on Facebook. It's where a lot of us got to know each other, is through that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fletch. You're
up. And like, I don't know how many of you know about it, but like a good example of like what happens when people tear each other down. You look up the beauty community in YouTube, you're gonna get a whole bunch of drama and all this other stuff. But it goes to show, like, when people use each other just to get views, how it can blow up in your face. And here, that's not the sense of this at all. This is collaborative. We're learning from each other. I mean, it's supportive. It's great. It's fantastic. I mean,
Microhit is different. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, we all have our guilty pleasures. That's one of mine.
I think it's good that Fred brought up the thing about support NBC, and I believe that I messaged you and I said go ahead and join the Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
Because the good thing is that it's not just for you to post stuff. People help each other out. Deez that started it actually has a section on documents, on things that can help you out as well, right? And I think it's really good that we've gotten to know each other and started to work stuff out. And I think one of the things that I do a little bit differently and also to help people out is that I don't do regular mail calls. I call it a poker chip exchange. But what I do is I reach out to the people as well that has sent me stuff. By the way, BlackPhoenix, I finally received your stickers.
Oh, you did get it.
Yeah, so I just find it's the COVID thing, man, and I think they spent about 2 weeks decontaminating the thing or what, I don't know. Right? Taken about like 2 months, right?
Yeah,
to
it's
get
been a
it.
while.
Right?
Yeah.
I just got it yesterday. So what I'll do is I'll reach out to each and everyone that sent me stuff, and of course I'll send them my stuff when I can finally get it out, the poker chips and stuff, and get them to do a little video. And rather than have me talking about my mail and reading out stuff, I get them to talk about it. And then if you've never seen them before, if you're on my channel, you've never seen them before, then go sub them. Right? So that kind of helps things out as well. So I'm not doing it just because, and first of all, of course, not to see my ugly mug. Second of all, it breaks up the content. And last but not least, of course, it introduces people, right? So I've had people like, I think it's Mr. Kansas guy, right? That not a lot of people know. He reached out to me only on Instagram, and then he never talked on Instagram about his, and he's never been promoting it. So what I did was I got him on, then I got him on his live stream, and then now it's taking off, right? So as much as I can, I like to help as many people out as possible. Good karma anyway, even if I don't grow, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We all get to help out anyway, right? So I think we all are looking to doing different content and helping people out.
Yeah.
If nothing else, at least we get good karma. So at the gates, St. Peter say, okay, you're in.
So
it helps me out in the classroom later.
Exactly.
I'm sure you see over there in the side chat web ASD. If you want a
oh yeah, me too. Oh god.
if you want to have a really good example of a alternative way of doing a mail video, watch his from probably about a month or a month and a half ago. It's a poker chip style video.
That was good.
I don't think he says a single word, and every time we kind of start talking about this, I bring up this episode because it's that ingrained. I've watched it a few different times now.
Yeah.
But I mean, check out the styling on it, and it's just like that's kind of helps you kind of strive. Like, what can I do to be on that level? And I still am not anywhere near it. So,
Yeah.
hey, Mike, thanks for coming in today, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
I know the video you're talking about. I've looked at that one. That's the one where he dishes out the cards, and then there's the chip on the table. Yeah, that one's amazing. It's just amazing. That was why I tried using Clark Kev, but it didn't work out as well as I was hoping.
I think it's great to see everyone's different artistic style when they do like different skits like that.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're all striving to do something a little bit different, and you're right. I constantly go back to web stuff, and I realized that I think, and he's pretty adamant about stuff. When the last time he was here, he mentioned that you want to put out quality stuff. You don't want to be putting out things every week, every day, and it turns out to be rubbish. And I think he puts out real quality stuff every time he puts something out, and I end up watching it and really looking at it and making sure that, I really enjoy what's going on there. Something's wrong. Okay, sorry, I'm having some technical issues here because I see.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Something coming in there. I was thinking, okay, virus.
It's different. It's different when you're on this side of the hosting.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, I I can't really bring it back up there, but it's mail call number 1 on Webb's channel.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I put it up.
It's getting hot
Find
over
it?
here.
You're hot over there, huh?
Well, I'm in New Jersey now, so it's cooler here. Humidity, though, that's the thing.
And it's hot here, and I'm in Canada, so there you go.
Oh no, that's
So
it. We're done.
So you're from Jersey. You guys don't realize the smell in Jersey, do you? Because when I cross the border, I know that I'm in Jersey.
Well,
Sounds like-
I mean, there are pretty places. We are called the Garden State, but we're also the armpit of the nation as well. So, I mean, it just depends. I mean, I'm used to it. I grew up here.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I really don't notice it. And if I do, I just put on more deodorant myself. So,
If you guys ever ride through Kansas, I hope you like the smell of manure and pig farms and everything else. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's what Jersey smells like, but that's what Kansas smells like.
no,
Headed out to Colorado.
our hills are made out of garbage because there's just so much of it,
It's a big garbage smell.
and marsh smell.
We got rocks and trees.
Yeah, Canada's beautiful.
And lakes, lots of lakes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm right on the ocean, so you get that whole ocean harbor type smell to it. And then depending on the time of day and the heat, it could get bad, it could get worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can take a drive an hour in a couple of different directions and hit 3 different Great Lakes.
Oh, nice.
There it is.
Oh,
That-
yeah. This is
That
really
must be terrible for you. So
Oh, it's
horrible.
horrible. This is a great video.
I know, it's awesome.
I just subscribed to him.
He was hard to find because he keeps changing his thing, man. Web, by the
we
way, I
made-
received yours as
He
well
made it
today.
a lot easier. He made it a lot easier at the ASD at the end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think in this episode is the one where he received mine, and I just only received his about 3 months later. But I think this is a good idea, and I think he approaches it as a like a filmmaker, like a director, and I think that's
Yeah.
the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
We can't be doing the same things, and I think we need to capture. That's mine, and we capture the
Just threw it away.
things and just
See, I don't even know how to start even doing this kind of stuff, like getting the promo kind of stuff. I love
think-
this though.
yeah. What do you use to edit anyway, Ms Mototeach?
I just used iMovie because it was free.
Right.
That's what I
And
use.
plus, plus, when I was in high school, I took a film class,
Right.
and that's just what I was used to. I because of my teaching stuff, I actually got the Adobe Cloud at like the teaching rate,
Right.
and I tried to use Premiere, and then I got very frustrated, and then I stopped using it.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to learn. I mean, this is well done.
Exactly. I think it'd be great since you've been to film school and stuff. And anyway, iMovie, you are able to do as much as Final Cut Pro anyway. It's just
Yeah.
the baby brother to Final Cut Pro. I use Final Cut Pro, but so
Yeah.
you can always work out to that. You don't have to spend that kind of money to
No.
get that kind of thing. I think it's just how you produce it anyway. And in fact, one of the things that I'm supposed to be working on as well is a challenge that we put out a couple of streams ago. Is you could use a mobile phone, right? You don't have to get an expensive camera. So
Yeah.
I think Brett's did one. I know
I did one.
Mike, you did yours. Yeah, just recently, right? And you even mounted it on a bike. And then we had Mike's done his. On I've yet to do mine, so I'm still waiting for it. Waiting to do it on a mobile phone. In fact, I think Webb, you should check out Webb's one,
Hmm.
which I think let me go and find it right now, because that one was super awesome.
Yeah, mine turned out pretty good too. I I tried doing it. It was harder than I thought it would be.
That's what you get for trying to motovlog, man.
Yeah, I know.
See? Hey, look, there we are.
Right. So he took up the challenge. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. But then he took it another way. And he, in fact, went very far and to dig up an old Nokia, which is not even a smartphone, which had a camera. And you just check this out, the quality that he's gotten out of this. I think this is really, really awesome.
Mhm.
This is him talking, but let's see if I can show you what he's done with.
Now I'm going to have to go and watch this, Fletch.
There you go. So all this is taken on a little Nokia.
They still exist.
Yeah, he dug it out. Look at that. And I think that's so good, man. We shouldn't be using our $2,000 mobile phones. We can easily be digging out. So I'm motivated to find mine.
Mhm.
Now, I think he lost his, actually.
Oh yeah, he stuck it on a drone
Ah,
and it fell off. I don't know if he found it or not. And that was another video, I think, where he showed.
It's just so cool.
things
It's like a timestamp of, even though it was shot in 2020, it just kind of has that nostalgia feel to it.
yeah, and that's coming back.
Exactly. Look at this. You don't have to spend plugins to get this effect. Just go get yourself a little $50 phone.
Yeah.
Right. Look at this. So I think content is really important, and I'm motivated by Webb a lot and the stuff that he puts out to be able to do something a little different. I think we're all striving to do that. I think sometimes I'm guilty of it. Keep looking at sub counts and trying to put stuff out. I've stopped that. For the last 2 weeks, I haven't put anything out because I'm working on something to be different and to have some quality. Otherwise, you just, it's a McDonald's kind of thing. You're just putting out alien meat. No point.
That was my dinner tonight, man.
McD's, man, my McD's just opened, man. Locked down for 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, that's got to be the thing with your channel is, make it something you want to watch, and subscribers will come and go, your views will come and go. So just don't let it get frustrated, because then you're gonna end up with my fraudster video where you just sound like you don't even want to be doing it. So because I got down and I've kind of roller coastered. I'm back on my upward trend where I want to be creative again. So it's if you start focusing on the wrong things, it's just kind of, I don't know. It killed my mood, I guess, on it. And I think Fletch, I think there was a pretty big group of us. I should upload a video there and just see what would happen.
I'm not going to. Nope. Mm-mm.
No, upload a motovlog there. Let's see if we get anything. But make the title be like something completely different. It'd be total clickbait.
The comment alone would be a great YouTube video.
Well, I mean,
Do it on a bike.
there are a lot of teacher videos on there already,
Well,
Dang.
Oh, jeez. Now,
I think that's the thing, though. Like, if we're not having fun doing it, I think the
Oh, yeah.
subscribers and the viewers can see that, and they're like, "Well, this guy's not having fun."
Yep.
So many videos.
It's actually a lot like teaching. Like my students can tell when I am teaching something that I don't like, or I'm being told I have to teach it, and their response is very immediate to that. But then when I am talking about something that I'm passionate about and I know a lot about it, you do get a different response. It's not sorry. It really is. It's not that different, and the whole key is to be yourself.
I think I would rather put out a video that's 4 minutes long that people watch for 4 minutes than to put one out that's 20 minutes long that people watch for 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
my goal is 8 to 12 at the top end now, because
I suck at that.
I'll stick with
I've been looking at my analytics lately, and it's like they tell you a lot, you know. So I think my average is about 5 minutes or so is my average duration for a video, because I know I get a lot of people who just come in and leave type of thing. But that's why I'm trying to cut down all the filler that doesn't need to be part of it, because there's so many times, like, necessarily my videos, but there's videos out there where it takes 4 or 5 minutes just for them to get past the introduction and to get to what they want to talk about. Case in point, Walterific, as popular as he is notorious for it. I go through 2 commercials before he finally gets to what he actually wants to talk about, and then it's like a 30-second thing and the video ends. So there's a
I started watching him a while ago. I can't watch him anymore. Like, it's not like a personal thing, but he's changed his whole channel there.
The only reason I can watch him is because he's local. That's the only reason I keep watching him. Yeah, it makes a difference when you got a local personnel around. But I found actually a couple other local people. He's up in North Kansas City.
That's an interesting name.
Motocrap. Yep. Hopefully he's not watching this. But
how many hours a month do you get, Chopper, for your views? How many hours a month?
Well, I don't know hours per month. I know my views is about 4,500 a month. I'm at over 1,000 hours of watch time since August, so I don't know. Let me go in my analytics and see if I can find that number. But 1 second.
A lot of hours. I've got loads of hours watched, but 150,000.
Well, hey, I got 2 new subscribers tonight. Awesome, you guys rock.
Yeah, I know. I have trouble with. I'm finding out that I talk too much, and I have this much of the video, but then I will go back out and do it again. But it's going to help me, because then I also am like, well, if I'm talking too much here, I'm probably talking too much in my classroom. It's actually helping me, so I can get to the point quicker. Because and since I'm new, I'm still experimenting. These first couple of videos, since they're my intro, I know they're going to be a little bit longer because I want people to get to know me. Sure. Then I'll just cut it down and short like that. Like one of the videos I wanted to upload, I still have to figure it out while I'm away, is just me talking about my playlists and video games, because I'm a gamer, and that's another one for me. And then I joke about, how do you want a filing cabinet or a Wi-Fi router for this next round of consoles? Because that's what they look like.
Right.
The best advice I was. Oh, sorry. No,
I was going to say, looks like, according to my analytics, for the last 28 days, which is on that main page, 335 hours basically in the last month or so. Okay. I don't know if that's good or bad, indifferent, but
I think I have 2,800.
That's a lot.
So what are we looking at? Are we looking at watch time?
Yeah.
333 hours. I don't know if that's good. I don't know.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, I honestly barely look at this page.
I've got a couple of videos that I did 10 years ago. That the one has got 45,000 views, and it gets 300 views a month.
I got one video that's basically driving my channel right now, which is a fairing video that compares a knockoff to the name brand. It's what gets me over half my traffic per month. So I know I got that one locked in, and it's going to be a continuous thing, because that's going to be a continuous thing that people look for. And I think if you search for Harley Crater, which is the knockoff like on Amazon, I think I'm like the #2 video that's up there now. So it's consistently driving that force now. So it's kind of nice. Yeah. But
it's funny because my fishing videos, my fishing boat, my camping videos have more, and I'm a motorcycle channel. They have more views than any of my motorcycle ones, but my training ones are picking up steam, right? Because they get searched. So
I think web brings up a good point. All my crap videos I hate get decent views, and all the ones I'm proud of get none. So
yeah,
Yeah, it
I
happens.
know. Is that the part that really sucks is I think my worst video has got my most views. You know, you don't know either, and sometimes you'll spend so much time working on a video and you really edit it well and you put everything together, and then that one just flops.
yeah. Well, I think my last flop was my photo one. It just nothing. I thought it'd be an interesting subject, DSLR and how it relates to motovlog world, and nothing. I was like, thought maybe I could at least get some camera people coming in. Nope. I think with that one, it's a Canon DSLR. That's a hard tag to break into on YouTube standard. So it's like, so
That's another thing. I mean, YouTube's just so saturated with everything. It's really hard to break some of these categories.
Yeah.
One of my videos that I did about how to ride the Spyder, and I did like the video of like the controls and stuff like that. That, for whatever reason, exploded like a month ago. I've got over 2,000 views on it, and I'm getting more of the Spyder community. People who search for it are finding it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
good.
I remember that video too. Actually, it's one of those that again sticks in my head, like because I thought it was so fascinating, and you could probably even find my comment in there. I was like,
it was great. Like the amount of comments I got was great because no one knew about it. They're like, "Wow, it does this. It has this." Never knew the brakes were like that. Things like that, and it was fun. It was just fun, like just educating people on, the Spyder.
So someone else gave me some good advice too, because they're kind of shared. So if you gotta have a rough subject idea, go to Google and kind of start typing out the first words. So like for like my seat, Saddleman Dominator, and then see what the next word is after that, and see what's going to be the most searched thing on Google, essentially, and you can use that to your advantage as well. So
TubeBuddy
works very well as well, especially if you're a small channel. It's really cheap.
Yeah.
Well, free.
It's a
Using the free
first one is free. I'm using
the free version. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What was that again?
TubeBuddy.
Okay.
And what it does is it actually connects to your on your page, and what I find TubeBuddy is most helpful for is using that to find out if the titles that you've picked are good. Okay. I will change a word or redo it so that I get a better search result. And that's made a big difference in how my videos do. Like my videos, a crappy video of mine will get about 100, and a good video of mine will get 300 to 500 views.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's crazy?
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just gonna say it's crazy to see how even though, so you're saying like your crappy videos are getting about 100 or so, they might get 100 off the get-go, but if you give it time, it could end up trending up without you even realizing it. And I'm very curious to know what Prairie Boy's secret to YouTube is, because
yeah. And I wanted to say, Webb, I think, asked me a question about, are you scared kids will find my channel and be Larkins? They can try. And I mean, if they do, most of them probably would just like not even want to say who they are, because I can find out. And, but I mean, that's the thing too, is that even if they do like comment and stuff like that, I don't have my personal name attached to it and with anything like that. So if they find me, maybe it's because I've hit it big and they finally, they found me,
If you hit it big, you're not a teacher anymore either, probably.
I don't know. I both this and teaching, I don't do it for money or anything like that. It's because I love it. But I mean, most of the kids, like, I think I said it before and something like that. When I actually rode my motorcycle to school, all the 8th grade boys stayed around my classroom a little bit longer. And actually the second day I rode it, a bunch of them were in a house of one of the students nearby, and they all were out in the front, like waiting for me to like rev it and like go. So, I mean, it's, you know, I do have a little bit of fear, but just because the fact that I don't have my name attached or anything like that, I'm not too worried about it. And if they did, I mean, the other thing too is that if students did find it, they wouldn't leave it alone. They would be like the next day, be like, "Oh, hey," and then I would know it's them because they can't keep can't keep that secret. They won't be able to do it.
Kids.
Yeah, my son can't do it. So yeah,
yeah. No, it's like if they've done something, you know, the ones that actually do keep a secret, you better watch out for.
So part of the reason it took me so long to do my face reveal that Fletch pressured me into probably the most was I wanted to get, before I did that, I wanted to be really familiar with what my company's social media policy was, because I work in a very sensitive industry. So I keep, you know, everything I say on my videos and vlogs, I keep completely out of work. I might say work was bad or something like that, something very generic, but I never get into the specifics of my work because I could get fired for it. And you know, before I never really used my real name. I always just use Chopper Fett, but I've gotten to the point now to where I can keep the two distance enough. You would be a lot harder because you see these kids every day. I don't see my coworkers hardly ever. So I have like one coworker who actually watches this channel. So not too worried about what he's going to say, but it's all Fletch's fault that you have to see the bald head and glasses now. So
I know, and
that's actually one of my funnest videos to make was the face reveal. That's actually really fun to do.
Yeah,
and I got a copyright claim. So.
Yeah, I think eventually I will. I mean, because that's the thing is that as long as I don't say specific things or say specifically where I work, I'll be fine. And then plus, like I said, I'm going to be moving anyway.
Right.
I want to know that secret. Don't tease me like this. It's getting late. Stop doing that. But I mean, the other thing too that
channel.
I actually hope one day my students find this or even any of us, because I want them to see what passionate people do. And
exactly right.
Kind of like being themselves and reaching out there. So it's when it happens, it happens. And then if I ever do a face reveal or something like that, maybe I'll put on makeup first. I don't know, because whenever you ride, you shouldn't I've already learned this. It's all like all over in the inside of my helmet already, and I learned very quick. Don't do a full face. You just don't do it. You're just gonna waste money.
I always wear makeup.
You know, can you tell me which foundation like doesn't transfer? Because I need to know.
Revlon.
Is it Urban Decay? Is it Too Faced? Is it, you know? You have no idea what I'm talking about, are you?
Whipped cream.
Whipped cream. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, there is whipped foundation.
Whipped cream.
We're back to the porn thing again, are we? No.
Well, somebody's talking about Victoria's Secret now, so.
We all know.
We've strayed so far from the original topic, have we?
Oh,
yeah,
no, but I think it's okay for us to be able to for whatever reason hide our identity. You know, Kevin's lucky; he's got two, so it's all right. You know, because I think it depends on what we do. Right, teaching is one of them. If you work like I do for a very big corporation, we have to really be careful about what we say and what we do. And anyway, what I'm doing is completely off center anyway. Nothing to do with whatever I'm doing in my day job, so I'm pretty okay.
Webb has a very sick personality, man. I think we need to think about blocking that dude.
Who?
Webb.
Oh.
I ain't selling this body, Webb.
Oh my god, we've really gone off the side here, man.
That's a different website.
I don't even want to know what the title of that is.
All I do on my channel, I just mentioned I work in IT. Like some of the stuff, I just couldn't say what I do because it's just all security based. It's just like, leave it at that. So.
Yeah. No, and I actually, so I'm getting my master's right now, and I should be getting it in October, and then I could be a school principal, which that scares people. But the students are like, oh, you can make the rules. But I actually just did the media relations, and it's so like you represent where you work, and especially like teachers, it's kind of like we're like celebrities, and we have to always have the split personalities, like we can't be certain aspects of our personality. Like I'm where I used to live in Utah for a little bit, but I had to live in the town that I taught in because there was nothing else around. And when you're going back in the adult beverage of Walmart and you run into a student and you're like, this is not mine. Whose card is this? And you don't mention that maybe the reason you're buying that is because of that student. It's a little bit of like a double standard a little bit.
I think when you work in a school, it's a little trickier. I know I worked for the school board for 37 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a teacher, but I had, there were students that followed my channel and employees that followed my channel. I worked in, I'm retired now, but I was a facility supervisor and I supervised a whole bunch of maintenance and custodial staff. And before that, I worked as a custodian in many different schools. And they knew what I was doing, and I would hear about it. I would post something on my channel, and they'd say, "Oh, you did a dumb video."
Yeah, but what have you done today? Would be exactly what I would say back.
Yeah.
It's those things in my head that I can't say out loud all the time.
Yeah.
It says it on my face, though. It was actually, I asked my students one time, okay, what can I improve my teaching? And they're like, well, you get faces when you say things. And I'm like, I can't fix that.
That's right.
I can't fix that. Sorry. Like when you ask me kind of a dumb question, I'm sorry. I just can't. Like, can I get an extra credit? Why? You haven't done anything all year.
That's why I'm glad I telework. They don't see it.
Yes.
Oh,
Tough.
yeah.
I have to pretend that the people I work with aren't stupid. So,
Yeah.
Did you
it's
turn it on?
No, they don't watch my channel. So, but it's just like because I'm a systems admin, but occasionally I have to go down and do help desk stuff, and it's painful. Once you reach that high level and you have to work back down here, it's like, okay, this person can't sign into computer. All right, put your name in, and then they stare at you. I'm like, your name. Your name. Like, I almost walked out. Like, this girl did not know that I was telling her you have to put your name in to sign into the computer. And I told my boss, I got to take 5 minutes. Like, I can't handle this.
Yeah. I know. I told when I was first talking to BlackPhoenix, I'm like, my IT guys love me because there are times I admit I'm a millennial, so I could fix things on my own. And I actually talk to them like real guys instead of like, the teacher that's been up the block and she's still like, Chromebooks, what is this? I actually talk to them when there's not a problem. So then when I did have a problem, they knew that it was actually something interesting because I couldn't figure it out.
Right. The best is when there's an error message on the screen saying what the problem is,
Yeah.
and they still call me saying, Ryan, what does this say? It's like, it's right there. It's telling you what the problem is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
files are in the computer.
Right.
Where are these cookies? I'm hungry.
But you know what?
I love that Zoolander that scene when they like smash the computer.
Right. But you know what? You pay me a bunch of money to turn stuff on and off again, so you know what? I'm not going to complain.
Exactly. I feel you because I'm in the same industry. right?
Right.
I'm also in the security part of it. I'm the only boomer that still knows what a computer is.
Hey.
So that's pretty good. You know, I don't have to. I don't get people to explain stuff to me, but I get it. You know, there are times where there's nobody else in the office, and I'm just there trying to get my stuff done, and then somebody walks up to, hey, you know, dude, something's wrong. I can't print.
Right.
You know,
Because
so-
I don't think
that's the worst.
people don't realize when you work at that high level in systems and networking coding, your mind is different. And then someone comes like, oh, this printer is jammed. You're not thinking about it. You're still up,
no,
up here.
exactly. And I was like thinking, okay, printer. Then go out there and find out.
Right.
Right. You know, then realize that they didn't plug in the computer in the first place. They're not on the network. Oh my god.
Copy machines, man, they smell fear. I'm going to tell you that right now. They smell fear. And they also smell when you're making last minute copies right before you need them. And then you get like all of it jammed at once. There's a little shred of paper here. There's
You guys talk about all that sort of stuff. When I was teaching the motorcycle training course, I know I'm going to talk motorcycles. I'm crazy. But I had a woman one time. She crashed in front of me, and we were learning clutch control. And she said, I don't know what happened. All I did was rev it up, and I let go of the clutch. And I said, that's exactly what you did. And when she did it, she dumped the clutch, and the bike went up, did a wheelie, and I reached up and hit the kill switch, and then she fell down on the ground. But it's like, you know, when people don't know what they're doing, it doesn't matter if it's a computer, if it's a printer or a coffee machine.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for us who know.
Right.
Yes.
And it's funny because they will find the most obscure thing to screw up, and you have to look it up. It's like, how did you do this?
Yeah, I know.
And they have no idea. Then you got to go through like 5 or 6 different screens and tabs. You're like, you got all the way here and changed this.
Oh.
And they have no idea.
I'm glad that you guys don't go through that too. It's not just me. Or
I think that's a good. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, I was going to say that I sometimes get students with like, because we share Chromebooks, and they're like, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why your cursor looks like a jukebox and it's half the size of the screen. I don't know that. Like, why is that your thing?
How did that even happen?
They find ways to modify there's some people like that super, you know, they get like the Russian keyboard on there, and then like, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know Russian either, so I have to look. It's annoying.
Very
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Going back to this is a good segue to get back to on topic, right?
Yes.
So, you know, looking at new motorcycles or pre-owned motorcycles, right? After half an hour, right?
They were longer.
I think I'm not sure if I asked that question to you, Kev. What is it that you would look? What is your motivation? Number one, and number two, what is it that you'll be looking into a new bike or a pre-owned one?
Well, for me, like my bike has got a whole lot of miles on it,
right?
And I would like to get a newer one, so I may do that. I don't know.
No, but I mean, what would be your if you were to give advice to someone as a person who's looking for a new bike?
Yeah.
What would you be looking out for? Your considerations. It doesn't have to be a Harley.
Yeah. Right? What is it you want to do with it? That would be my first question. Is what kind of riding do you do? Are you somebody who just drives around town? Do you want to go off road? Like, what is it? What do you see you want to do with it? Like for me, the one thing that I wanted to start to do was touring, and that's why I bought the big touring bike. Right. So if you don't want to be touring, then don't buy a touring bike. You know, if all you want to do is drive around town, you don't want to be driving around a 1,000-pound motorcycle. You know. Like I think it's really important to get what it is that you like and get it is what you're looking for. What is going on?
Dude,
I can't.
at you, man. The side chat blew up as you started talking.
Man, you guys are all giggling away here, and I'm feeling like
It goes back.
with that kid
Fletch,
at
Fletch,
school
it goes
where
up to
everybody's
Prairie
laughing.
Boy.
Exactly like what I experience. I'm teaching, and then
Yeah,
everybody.
it started there.
Yeah,
Ah,
man.
And then,
Oh, it's that
Oh,
Prairie
my-
Boy. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Oh, that guy. You know what? That guy.
that guy.
and then Christopher David Lawson saying, "Was the pizza from Domino's or is that the escorts?"
Oh my god.
Oh man, you
Guys
guys
are
are.
to a charity level on these three screens.
Oh man, this is funny.
But I think it's good that we talk about Prairie Boy because I think this guy actually has some really good content as well. I know at one point he was saying he was struggling, but and for whatever reason I'm spelling it wrong. I'm trying to get to his.
Prairie is the hardest word to spell in the English
I know,
dictionary.
shit, you know. The problem with us is that we have all these helpers, right? You know, the Google Chrome has this thing. You got Grammarly, and then of course, if you got Microsoft Word, they got all these things to help you spell. In the end, you can't spell for shit. And then,
Amen.
and then, you know, and what happens is that then you're trying to find stuff, and this guy's name is spelled all funny, and you can't.
Americans don't know
Get
how
it
to
right.
spell color.
No.
Exactly.
They spell it wrong.
Well, you put a U in it, don't you?
That's right. That's the right way to spell color.
Bastard. Color.
Listen, it's
all
yeah,
the
it's not all
color.
about you.
It's all about me. It's all about me.
Listen, I can tell you, there's some things I see that the way they're spelled, they don't look like the word that they're supposed to be, and they look like something else. And I'm glad none of my students see me grade.
Like
I will Snapchat and I will send it to people and just be like, can you tell me what you think this is?
a lot of times I have to write, or I should be using the word guarantee at my job, and I can't spell it. So I just said, don't promise, or I find a much easier approach to guarantee.
Mm-hmm. But Kevin, what were you saying about new bikes?
Yes, Kevin.
You guys were just all laughing at me, so I just stopped.
You're paying attention now.
I tried so hard, but I couldn't.
Everybody was laughing, and I just felt like I don't know what's going on here. No, I just think you got to get what it is for what it is that you do. You know, like if you're somebody that just needs to go around town, maybe a scooter is all you need. You know, like really, seriously. It just depends on what you're into too, and like what are you into? I have a friend that we ride with that now. BlackPhoenix. This person I know likes these Spyder things. This friend of mine, and we ride together all the time. So yeah, you know, like, and we have this constant thing about is it a bike? Is it a snowmobile? Is it a jet ski? No one knows.
It's got wheels on it, you know.
Yeah.
Rolls on pavement.
Yeah, I was just talking about this, and this is Prairie Boy's channel, and this is about creating something interesting. And take a look at this. The topic is motorcycle and drones, which I think is a great topic. A lot of us own drones, and you just take a look and see. Besides cleaning in the Mac, you know, and he's talking about you know, the stuff that he's doing, and here he's doing a motovlog with himself, which I think is the most crazy thing. You know, imagine standing there by yourself and talking to yourself in the middle of nowhere, and then he runs.
As I say, fast forward it. There's a part where I got the beginning of the video where he was running from the drone. See if you can find that little snippet in there.
That was right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Wait, I have.
Well,
to
he
get
has
a
that,
phone
but he
now?
has an extended version later in the video.
Oh,
I think it's right about there.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Okay, see.
So he's this is awesome. I mean, and he goes on the shoot. He doesn't have a secondary cameraman, so he has his drone, and I think it's really, really very good. I was on the floor laughing at the shit, you know. It's awesome.
I'm still talking.
Yeah,
I know he's got like this charisma and a sense of humor that just makes it work.
exactly. Yeah. And I'm so happy for him that he got monetized, you know, after so long.
I know he was trying hard. He got it.
Exactly, and now he can't curse anymore on live stream. We still can.
So I have to get a drone now.
Yeah.
The thing of it is, you can't.
There he goes.
Oh, this is the best.
He's seen if the drone can track him, basically.
This is so awesome, I tell you. You have to have the audio on because he's like, oh my God, it's still there. Oh my God. Okay. This is so awesome. I just swear to God.
Yeah, that's just something none of
my
us were
God.
expecting to see on a channel, and great stuff, man.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we were saying and try to do something different. And I think if we have a sense of humor, we should try to put it in. And I know there's quite a number of Kev's one of them as well. I think his videos are really funny, and Webb as well when he wants to be. You know? Right, but that's the Aussie in him. But otherwise, I think these are all good examples of things to do and see as much as we can as well. I think Brett and myself have been cracking our heads to try and do something different all the time. And I think the collaboration thing is pretty good as well. Right.
And I sent you something last week that's
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna work on that. So that's something interesting. In fact, it took me off on another tangent, so I'm gonna work on that hopefully this weekend so I can put it out. But it's still a mail call video, right? And I think it's good that both BlackPhoenix and Ms Mototeach are collaborating, and Kev, you're also collaborating. I think it helps bring in different content. It helps give you different ideas, and I think that's what we're all working towards.
Yep.
If nothing else, at least we find it enjoyable. I was just talking to Brett yesterday, and he was mentioning the same thing to me. I actually look forward to this stream because we get to talk to people, we get to put out new ideas, and then along the way, people give us new ideas as well to talk about, and I think it's fun. This is, in a sense, a form of collaboration between everyone. If nothing else, at least we enjoy each other's company, right?
And yeah, we've had repeat guests, Kev. I think this is his second time on now, so just because we like having everyone on. I mean, some nights we have to almost kick people out. Some nights it's like a group of 5 like this, and we can go for 3 hours. It's kind of crazy how the different.
We're almost there as well.
I know. I didn't expect to even really come on today.
We got a couple East Coasters over there.
Yeah, it's almost midnight here, so
I'm still. I just got here, so I'm still on my Phoenix time, which is like 3 hours behind anyway. So
I got to work 4 hours tomorrow. So because I'm still part time, so I'm like, they give me 24 hours a week to work. I'm like, all right, when do you want me to split that up? Being the only IT guy and the company's open full time, it's like, good luck.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so it's tough, but you do what you can.
Right. It's looking pretty late anyway, and I think we've said all that we can say. And looking at Brett, I know it's getting late.
No,
I like to thank.
No. The reason I look tired is because
you have children.
Well, that too. But I have to, when I'm looking at the screen, it's not the height of the camera, so it looks like my eyes are closed, or it looks like I'm drowned out. But when I actually look at the camera, I'm actually wide awake tonight. Now you have to go watch some Netflix or something after this. So watch me some Ozark.
Yeah, but my problem is that I'm still at work, so I'm getting heaps of. That's why I hopped out just now, because I actually had a call and stuff to work out. So apparently people are being dumb about security, and they're being hit by little advice from an IT guy when it comes to security. Zoom is out. For God's sake, don't use Zoom for video conferencing. Number 2, basic stuff. If you don't know the person that's sending you the email, or it looks weird, don't click on anything. God damn it. You know, we just had one guy do it yesterday, and I have to fix shit. Jesus.
It's so bad.
I actually got a message on Instagram once, and I was called a beautiful queen.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of those, and I looked at my now husband and I said, "Excuse me, but you need to be calling me this now."
He's in trouble.
I am a beautiful queen, but then it would, and they're like, "Oh, where do you live?" So I use the abbreviations, and they're like, "Oh, where do you live?" I was like, "You say you're from the next state over, and yet you don't know this state's initials?"
Just say, because like I have my PO box in my profile. It's like, it's in my profile, and like, well, where's that? I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I love the ones that are like, urgent, I need to talk to you.
Here's the consequence of clicking on a link that you don't know. What happens is 2 things. One is that they capture your email address and they flood everybody else, right? The one that was serious yesterday, I'm not talking about, I'm not mentioning anything sensitive now, but it's just general. But the one thing that happened yesterday was an email that was sent out that looked kind of valid, but the company's name was spelled wrongly, but they didn't notice that. It just looked right, and they clicked on it. And what happened was that hacker captured the password and ID of that person.
Oh.
So I had to go and close a lot of accounts and block everything else and blah blah blah. It's a security, it, right, BlackPhoenix?
Yeah,
as a security guy, so you know how you feel me, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's going on now, so that's why I keep getting calls and stuff, and they keep finding new things, and we're trying to curb everything else. I'm short of shutting down the entire network now.
Why did
I'm
Kev
probably
run
going to do
his
it.
Sunglasses is what I'm trying to figure out.
Anyway, so it's getting pretty late, and we're close to the 3-hour mark. And I'd like to thank everyone that's come on. Ms Mototeach, thank you very much for responding and coming on the show. You're at 52 now.
I know.
And hopefully,
thank you. And thank you so much for even allowing me and kind of reaching out to me. That means a lot. It really does.
We're here to help anyone.
This YouTube thing is a beast. It's really hard to get the wheels going. So, help you out any way we can.
Because the first person that started it was BlackPhoenix, of course. And when I saw his thing, I said, okay, new less than 50, we got to get on this and get her going as well. Right.
Hey,
Kevin, you were to say?
Scout's over there at chat right now. Hey, Scouts, if you're still listening, next time you do one of your things, I am getting tired now. One of your live streams with the channels things, reach out to Ms Mototeach. She'd be a good one to have on.
Yeah, he's the man to go on with. Scouts Adventures, Ms Mototeach, you got on it. I think he does when he can, and he announces it. The idea of promoting new channels, and he's the man to go to. And he's saying,
we're telling you to invite her.
Yeah, you. Yeah, let's talk about it. We leave it to you, man. Okay, and Kev, thanks for coming as well.
He's probably so trashed, he's not going to remember any of this conversation.
Those are the best conversations.
And thanks again, BlackPhoenix, for coming as well.
No problem. Thanks, guys, for getting me involved in this.
Right. So thank you very much, guys, in the side chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, this is me, Fletch, on the Dyna-Mic Duo, and Chopper Fett, of course.
Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you next week on my channel. So look for those stories, invites, whatever, coming next week. So subject has not yet been decided yet. So
yeah, we'll think about it as always.
Yeah. Wednesday before it airs, we'll come up with the subject idea. So,
Oh, so you're like me in that too. Like when I don't know what I'm teaching until like the hour before. Is it good?
Yeah,
pretty much same thing. Yep.
Right. Once again, guys, thank you
guys
very
so much.
much. And join us next week on Chopper Fett's channel, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, same place, same people. Have a good one, guys.
Different
Different
place.
place. Different place. Same people.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Bye. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.